Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt I was raised on. Know how to put in work. Grinding all day, you know it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't gotta look nowhere else. Greatness inside.
Episode 9 of All About the Grind. As we get in with our guest tonight, Dave, I didn't tell you anything.
You told me nothing.
Nothing.
You just said we have a gentleman coming on. His name is Taj, and then I asked you today I said I don't know anything. You said good. We'll find out later.
How about this for a title? Hurting helped, healing to help.
Yeah.
Watch. I think it'll tie in. Let's see.
Yeah.
If I got it pegged now, I'm sitting here with Taj Herbert. Thank you so much for being on All About the Grind. So he has watched an episode or two, but not really a whole lot to do with what we're doing here. This is really a journey for me and for Dave and now for you and all the grinders that come on, because I know a little bit of your story. And where this thing goes is really the guest's journey. So it's a lot of fun for us. So welcome to All About the Grind. Thank you so much. Taj, so growing up, did you have two family, like a mother and a father, or two father figures? Or
Yeah, well, I want to start off first by thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know it was your ninth show.
Yes.
9 is a very powerful spiritual number. And
No coincidence.
There we go.
We'll get into that, will we not? I hope you take me there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
That's a big part of my journey. And you mentioned before we started, you talked about we know each other well, like the whole full body hugs.
Right.
I wanted to mention that when you hug me, like my chin hits your shoulder, and I feel like a little girl. But it's cool though.
Not with them big arms, you
It's
don't.
cool.
Stop. I'm blushing.
But
I'm
it's cool,
Irish, so no.
No, so I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Because this is the journey for people like you and I, and what the All About the Grind's about is we wouldn't have full body hugged
No.
10, 15 years ago unless we scrapping.
No, I think you and I would have got along well because we'll get into that later. But
Okay,
I think
good.
we would have got along
Good.
very well.
Good.
we
Good.
would have clicked.
All right, so you grew up in New Orleans.
Grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
New Orleans. Is that how they say it?
so well,
New
New Orleans. I don't. Some people still say I have the accent. I think I do, or I don't. Sometimes I do. So my mom and dad, they got married shortly after they got pregnant with my sister, and then they moved into a house. There was a deal where my mom and dad wanted to either get a house or have another kid. So mom was like, "Let's get a house," and then they moved into the house, and mom was like, "I'm pregnant." So here I am.
How many total?
So just me and my sister. My sister's
Okay.
4.5 years older than I am.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they were together until I was about 5 years old,
Okay.
and then they got a divorce. One thing I will say is I never saw them argue. It was never any violence or anything like that at the house. They were two adults that decided not to be together for the reasons they decided. So yeah, that's a short answer to that question.
What years is that? Is it in the 80s?
Yeah, so I was born in 75.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm almost 50 years old.
He is younger.
I am.
Dang it, he's
He's a
younger than me.
youngin'.
Dang it.
He's younger than both of us.
Everybody sitting here starting to be younger than me.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm less than a month away from 50.
It's awesome.
It's crazy.
It's
Just
awesome.
another day.
It's all.
Yeah.
It is. I love it. I love my 50s.
Yeah. So you were saying, so this was 75
Yeah.
to 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were some fun. No, the 80s were fun. Dave,
It was.
You were 70,
I was born in 73.
73. So I mean, I'm 70.
Yep.
So I'm the older. That's sir to both of y'all.
Yes, sir. I can do. I was in the military.
Yeah,
I can do that.
What a transition!
that.
What a transition! So you grow up. Was your father in the military?
So yes, he was for a little while. He
But you really didn't know him, did you?
Well, no, I did
Okay.
very well. So when they separated, I would still had full contact with my dad. I could always call.
Same town,
yeah,
all
everything.
that.
Yeah. So
Co-parenting, really?
yeah. So
That's cool.
So I really grew up in the house with my mom the whole time. My sister grew up with us for a little while, and then she ended up moving over my dad. I don't know if that was financial. I don't know if it's because we fought all the time.
Sometimes it's same sex. I mean, like the daughter and the mother.
Yeah, but we were the other way around.
And when they had,
They were opposite.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, don't do that. Don't say sorry. Just talk.
We were more. I was the youngest. She was the oldest. So who do you want, the 5-year-old or the 9.5-year-old? You know, you want the 7-year-old or So I believe that was part of it. I don't know why it was done that way, but that's the way it worked out.
Do you remember the divorce?
No,
because you were 5.
It was a separation. I remember I was living in this house with mom, dad, sister, and dog.
Yeah, and
then I remember I was living in this apartment with mom and sister.
Earliest memory.
Earliest memories? That's a good question.
Thank you. I try to remember my earliest memory. I go through this journey on my own. That's why I ask.
So they're pretty early. The earliest memory, I was laying on my back underneath a coffee table, scribbling with the crayons.
I remember eating crayons.
Yeah.
No joke.
And
that's funny.
And art has been a part of my life ever since. I
Really?
also remember before I was able to walk, I was on one of those a little tricycle where you scoot on it.
Right.
And riding bikes has been a part of my life ever since.
So
those are my earliest memories.
Like BMX biking or just outdoor down the mountain?
Yes.
Or just on the highway?
Yes.
Everything.
I currently have 3 bikes: a mountain bike,
Give them 2 wheels and pedals,
a road bike, and I also have a gravel bike, which is kind of like a mix between a mountain bike and a road bike.
I'm going to introduce you to my dad.
Okay.
You will love him.
Yeah.
This man jumps in a van, but he also knows all the trails around, and he will, I mean, whether we were skiing when he was 65, I couldn't keep up with him. His legs, and he bikes, and now he's got this is no joke. It takes, your ass has to get used to biking.
Oh,
It
yes.
does.
It's like getting used to riding a horse. You can't just jump on a horse every now and then, and you're gonna, you have to toughen up your ass.
You need to get one of them big banana seats like they used
He
to have.
did, because he's a big boy. Now he's lost a lot of weight. He's doing really well, man. He's healthy and all, but he bikes and he will keep up with. Now he does the big mountain bike, but he's got the gears. Now he can't keep up with. Are you the lean in with the outfit?
I can do all of them, but my favorite right now is again, it's called a gravel bike. It's a newer type of bike. It's basically a road bike. The weird clothes and doing this all in
Right.
straight ahead. It's basically a road bike, but it's a little tougher, so you can take it on trails or the road. And that's how I like to ride. I like to explore. I like to throw my bike in the truck and go find these trails. And
I'm not joking. He'll go in a
do the
heartbeat.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ridden all around the country.
Yeah.
And like if we were sitting here talking New Orleans, he'd start talking streets. He can remember a street in any town we've ever been. Now Zach can remember wherever he's eaten in any town. He was just in New Orleans. New Orleans. Let's stop for a second.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going. I mean, this is just a talk between a couple guys.
Yeah.
Man, this truck. This craziness.
Yeah, I saw that. I was actually in Pensacola.
Yeah.
When that happened on New Year's, and I was with my mom, sister, her husband, her boyfriend, and my daughter and my aunt. A lot of my relatives are all over the place after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, no, that dispersed a ton.
Yeah, so we were
Texas or Florida.
Yeah, so I was actually in Pensacola with a part of my New Orleans family when that happened. Yeah.
They're going to learn. Listen, I would. For me, I love the way the Israelites deal with it, and if you really research it, they'll. And Dave's heard me say this before because he's been around me forever. They'll have somebody walk in. I mean, they get 100 bombs a day, and it's never on the news.
That's a lot.
Maybe stretching here or there. Do your own research. This is just a podcast, people. Golly, I mean, I'm in furniture. Hello. Anyways, just a dude with the questions. But it is, they'll get into. I lost my train now. I'm sitting here being a dork.
Talking about Israelites and the bombs, 100 a day.
You. So, however many, but they'll also have people that will get in and blow themselves up. Now, this has been, maybe slowing down, but when it was happening, they would literally have that place back open within a day, 2 days, whatever it took to get it reset and swept out. At least the street was back because they were determined they would not live in fear.
Right.
They want their things to go back to normal.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Not normal,
that is
but-
their norm.
Yeah.
And this is our norm, COVID and all these super stuff. Anyways, it is our new norm. But if we live in terror, the terrorists win. That's their goal, is to build terror. So even if ugly things are going on, I'm just not going to walk in fear. That doesn't mean I'm going to go to a Gator game because they leave the stadium open all week. And I kept telling Don Marie, I mean, sooner or later, a stadium's going to get hit.
Oh yeah,
It's just
without
a
a
matter of
doubt.
time. So
Yeah.
we go sidetrack like that sometimes.
Yeah, I usually don't even watch the news. I stopped. I gave up watching the news years ago. A famous philosopher rapper once said, "Turn the TV off." That would be Kendrick Lamar. Nah, yeah, I just don't.
So much more time now.
So what I find is reality is perception. Everybody's reality is what they perceive reality to be.
Yep.
And it comes from experience and thoughts and emotions and feelings and on and on and on. And I just choose to see what I want to see. And when I say that, I don't mean I live in a fantasy world. I don't mean I ignore things that are happening. I just choose to look at things in a positive way. Everything that happens has multiple angles to look at it from. And so to choose to look at it negatively is a conscious decision,
Right.
But when you're watching TV, and TV is built off of fear, materialism, capitalism, feeding that feeling of lack so you can consume.
Yep.
When I know that that's all that machine is pumping out, let's turn it off. I don't watch it. That's all it does.
Do people realize that they are actually, when they look at you and your social security number, you are on an average, they know how much that social security number is going to spend over a lifetime.
Yes.
Because they have January, and then they get February. They do Valentine's Day in March, and then you get into the Easters, and then every month. And now they're multiplying them. Now you have 4th of July, you have Juneteenth, you have, I mean, there's so many
Consumer holidays.
Oh, yeah, I mean, me being Irish, I mean, you're not going to kick my, look at it.
It comes right back.
It wants to be
That's
there.
pretty good. That's a shoulder. Oh my gosh, what a child.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh no,
But
I
that's
let
how-
it go. Listen, I have fed this, and it'll drive people crazy. There are very few that have been around as long as Dave, including blood. Some by my choice, but only as I matured, and that's why I was so excited to have you here.
Oh yeah, no,
And
I'm happy to be here.
I'll bring it full circle because the time I am around you, there is a calmness about you, and there is a intellect of, you haven't just taken word for things. These are things that you've applied in life, the principles you're talking about.
I learned a lot the hard way. If I were to tell my story,
When did you get in the military? Was it Navy?
that was in '95. Yeah,
95?
yeah. I have
So high school
I
was
have
cool?
a lot of dark. I have a lot of dark things that happen all through my life. What you see now is a result of a lot of work, a lot of listening to people, and a lot of listening to people.
But okay,
I didn't
so
want to do that at first.
what age did the darkness begin?
5.
Okay, so five to win is the real darkness.
So for me,
And there doesn't
I
have to be
had-
an exact.
I had little windows of light. I just ran back to the dark when I had them,
Yeah.
And consistently, I'd
Yeah,
say
so skip those.
consistently, I'd say about the last 3 years. So we're talking 40 plus years of
Yeah, you're
of,
about on my track.
of
Yep.
kind of looking at things the worst way. But one thing that stayed with me from I can't remember a time where I didn't feel like I had to succeed at whatever the thing is. I'm not talking about monetary success or winning a race. I just had to complete that thing I was after, even if it was the wrong
So
path.
who put that after in your head? Was it always you, or was it outside influences?
It was a little bit of both. At first, it was all about, if I had to sum it up in one word, I would say acceptance. I needed you to accept me, so I needed to be the fastest or the strongest or the craziest or the one of the most daring or the one that was the best at whatever it was. I needed to be that to you. It don't have to be everybody else. It's just to you, and who you are is whoever's sitting in front of me.
Now, listen.
You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't about the war.
Oh,
It wasn't
I
about
do
being-
see what you're saying.
It wasn't about being Muhammad Ali. It's about being
Yeah.
able to beat you up.
Yeah.
And if someone else is in the room, it's about being
Yep.
that person.
100%.
It was just about, I need you to accept me in a room full of people.
Yeah.
That's too much work. So I can't function in that room full of people because I know I can't get them all to accept me. So I would say it was acceptance. That's what drove it before, was just needing to feel accepted and understood. Yeah.
That's a journey.
It has been, it has been, absolutely.
And you filled it first with, was mama a churchgoer or a believer or?
So mom, she grew up in a house with both my mom and dad grew up in a projects, just different projects.
Yeah.
My dad, it was 5 kids and his uncle and his mother in like maybe a 2-bedroom unit. So it's 3 boys, 2 girls, uncle and
in New Orleans or
that was
in
in New
Pensacola?
Orleans.
Okay.
Yes, everything was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then mom, it was 4 of them. It was 3 girls, 1 boy, and the mother. You know, so
Yeah.
both of those had grandmothers that had mothers that went to church a lot. My mother didn't make me and my sister go to church because I believe, the way I understand it, is that she was made to go, and she wanted to be more of a choice for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful for that, because I did go through a long period of resenting. Well, she was Baptist. My family
Right.
was Baptist.
Right.
Not her, but my family was Baptist.
Right.
And so I grew up being Baptist because that's what I was told I was.
Right.
So
Me too.
When I went through what I call my spiritual journey, I believe when people ask about religion, they're like, "Oh, religion, you go to a church." I stopped asking that a long time ago. I asked people to tell me about your spiritual journey, because nobody just goes to a church. Something happened before they went to church, you know, or something caused them to go to church.
So
or
you
choose
were
that
church,
one.
but you were church first.
No,
growing up.
Well, I was told.
Okay, you
I
were
was
told to choose and become,
Yeah,
but your mother was Baptist, and then the religious.
Yeah, the family was so. She kind of.
Was she legalistic? I mean, like when you say Baptist, because there's a variety. I know Baptist. I mean, was she more?
I guess it would be Southern Baptist. I guess.
Okay, yeah, I
guess.
got you. So in that range, it's just a range.
I was in the South and we were Baptist.
Yeah,
How's that?
that's pretty Southern Baptist. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So religion. I struggled with God for quite some time. A lot of my life. I'm actually working on a project, which we can talk about later or not.
No, we absolutely. Well, this is your show as well.
Yeah.
But when did you confidently cross out a higher power?
I confidently crossed out a higher power
It got me, Dave.
as a teenager. I believe as a teenager. That's when I first.
So early teens,
That was the first time, because before it was
so like 8th, 9th grade.
before I knew what it was, I was agnostic.
Yeah.
Agnostic. Like maybe there's a God, maybe there's not.
Yeah.
I didn't need one, so I wasn't worried about
Right.
it.
Even though Mama was praying at dinner and everything.
But not so much. Like I said, she wasn't. She allowed us to just kind of go the way we wanted when it came to spirituality. You know,
She didn't push it on you at all.
not at all. We didn't talk about God at home. A Bible was available, but not. Church was Easter Sunday and sometimes on Christmas. And again, I actually appreciated that. Not because, it made me some better person somehow. I appreciated it because it allowed me to be where I am today.
Yeah.
Because I believe if I would have been Baptist, like a religious Baptist, I believe I would have been closed off to a lot of other experiences that made me who I am.
Yeah.
So there's no way to go back and say whether it turned out better or worse.
Oh, we don't have to.
I'm just grateful that
Yeah.
I'm the way I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think looking back and what ifs
Mhm.
is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So
You never get a.
so I can't think of a
Full grasp.
moment that I just said,
But early
the
teens.
heck with it. Yeah.
And then you built on it. I mean, where it got more firm. Did you have fun pushing buttons?
No. So
I mean, were you like an angry?
So well, I'll that's a good question. That's a very good question. So real short
Is he
from
flirting with me, Dave?
from
I think he's flirting with me.
A little bit.
I'm looking over here.
I'm messing with you. Go. We're dorks, man. Keep going. You're cool. We're dorks. Welcome to the All About the Grind.
No, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I love
No,
you,
so,
man.
so somewhere like between we'll say between 5 and 13, I did a lot of mischievous stuff. I stole, I vandalized, I set fires.
Mid range.
Absolutely.
I mean, not
Yeah.
big houses yet.
No. I didn't even get into that. I never did that because again, this is about being accepted. It needs to be feared as well. See, it was a lot of things going. See, there's a lot of I hadn't mentioned. Like there was a lot going on at home. There was a lot going on.
Oh, we have time.
Around the place.
Oh, we have time.
Okay, well, I mean, let's
Dive in.
let's lower it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, this is for world consumption. So I'll try to keep it in a way that just to get to the point and
No,
not
you know
to
what
get
I
too
say?
deep
Here,
into it.
no, here's what I say. I say you speak your truth and let those that understand get it, and let
There you
those
go.
that don't let it fall on dead ears.
All right, let's.
This
get
is
started.
meant for somebody, I don't know, and it may just be me.
Yeah. All right.
So I've already got 3 things. Keep going, sir.
So yeah, that's roll. Okay. So you asked me way earlier how long was everything going fine? I said about 5 years old. So I was about 4 or 5 when I was first. I wasn't sexually assaulted per se, but I was made to get on top of a 4-year-old girl. You know.
Yep.
And
By
and-
an adult.
yeah, by a teenager that was in charge, you know, and and then and that actually included like no clothes and everything, you know, and then through elementary school there were girls like my sister's age. There was also a babysitter somewhere in there where this thing kept happening.
So stop.
Yeah.
So this is a boy
This
being
is
raped,
exactly, and
which is
there's
never
so much more
talked about.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about
I
it.
love talking about it because when you see
didn't
the
know that.
results,
Yeah.
when you see how it plays out with a boy. So first things first, and I've actually shared this before. I didn't tell anyone, right?
Yeah. For how long time?
I'll get to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
because it was. So I didn't tell anyone because I believe that I did something wrong, right? And then when it first started, after that, it was a no snitching policy, which was strongly enforced by girls that were much older and bigger than me, right?
Are you into 8th or 9th grade by now?
No, this is just elementary school.
Wow.
This is throughout elementary school.
Wow.
My sister and I say we used to fight, but she was 4.5 years older than me. That wasn't a fight. That was an ass whipping all the time, right?
Yeah.
Mom and she did things like I did, maybe a little more, but she used to beat me up for snitching. So I can't tell you what she did.
Yeah.
Because she might beat me up again. No, so,
One day if she ever sits here, she can tell her story.
Exactly.
This is your story.
She gets to tell it the way she
gets
wants
to tell it
There
the
you
way
go.
she wants it. I got
And
no
so-
questions for that.
And so that went on and on. So on the playground, that stuff was going on. In the house, sister bullying me, if you want to call it that, right? Pretty much. But it was siblings fight, whatever.
Yeah.
Bullying, whatever you want to call it.
But you're dealing with serious issues while that's going on. Are you correlating the two?
That's what was happening. So what's happening is
it starts transitioning to where you're fighting the same battle.
And so with mom's busy, mom's working, mom's trying to take care of 2 kids. And I don't remember the conversation specifically, but I do remember her saying that a boy can't get raped. And so
Your mother said that.
yeah.
Not knowing.
Of course not, because I didn't tell her. So it's it's not fair. Like I was like, well, I got raped. I didn't say that.
Right.
Because once you say a boy can't get raped, then whatever the heck that was that happened to me,
Wasn't rape.
yeah. So it must have been a choice.
Oh my
See?
gosh.
And then when I would tell my friends, my male friends, like the guys I hung out with, grew up with, cousins, all that.
They're excited for you.
High
Oh
five.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're getting so
stud.
Yeah, this girl
Early.
4 or 5, 6 years older than you, and then dad and uncle. I mean, they would ask me things like, "You got a girlfriend?" And I would lie and say, "Yeah," because I know they're gonna clown me if I don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And like, how many you got? I'll be like 1, and they'll laugh at me because I don't have more than 1 girlfriend. So this was my peer group. This was mom. This was dad.
Setting the foundation of who you're going to be as a man.
So what I did was I was repeating this behavior in elementary school with girls. I would do the same thing. I wasn't forcibly raped or anything. I was convinced. So I would do the same thing to these girls my age.
That was love.
Third grade, fourth
That was
grade.
acceptance.
I didn't need love. I didn't know what
Acceptance.
that was. Yeah, it was acceptance.
Oh,
Right.
I can't wait to get into that because I'm with
Right.
you.
That's how I felt.
How can I love you if I didn't love me?
So by the time skip ahead a little bit. By the time I was in that junior high school, all right, that's where a lot of things changed. We'll just say 13 years old. By 13 years old, I'm already trying to run the numbers up, right? I've already been in lots of fights. I already got caught stealing, so I finally stopped doing that. I didn't get caught again. I didn't vandalize stuff anymore. I didn't set fires anymore. All the stuff I did to small.
You found your channels.
What I did was everything shifted because in 7th grade I went to a school that was not the safest school, not in the best neighborhood.
That's why I want to be back at this age.
Yeah, so
keep going.
Yeah, so our school didn't even have lockers because they were afraid of people bringing weapons and drugs and so forth. So
New Orleans still?
This is all New Orleans,
Okay.
yeah. And we were a school that was right near a project, so a lot of kids came there for that. Yep. And so it was a lot of fights and all, very violent. I experienced a lot of violence. I kind of brushed over that too.
Playing athletics during this time?
The only thing I did was karate and swimming. I was never a team anything. It was just karate, swimming, track, ride my bike. It was things I did on like me.
Okay, so slow down for one second because I do have a question. I'm a Caucasian, wood neck guy. I've run in the circles, but I didn't live it day to day. Is that the common mentality in that, from your experience in the projects that you grew up in, that they had the same mentality you had?
Okay, so I didn't grow up in the projects.
Right.
I love the way Dave Chappelle said it. He said, my parents did well enough so that I can grow up poor around white people.
Okay.
That's all right. So where I live was fine. The school was out of area.
Yeah.
So
they found a home according to school.
We were in what you would call a middle class / lower middle class home.
So when did your intellect really start? I mean, because you're a quick wit and you're very well studied, but that had to start early on. The process of.
So in kindergarten, I would always start fights with kids and all of that. And one of the teachers realized that the reason I was disruptive in class was because I was finishing the work. And so they tested me for gifted class. And that whole time, so remember all this stuff I just talked about, all the way out into junior high school, that whole time I was in classes with 2 other kids. So there was no socializing. We talked about the sports.
Yeah.
It was single sport. So there was no socializing at home. There was no healthy socializing on the playground. Me and my friends, my best friend, he's still a best friend today. I'll love it if he watches this. He'll get a kick out of it. And see, he's not here, so I get to tell him my way.
Exactly. You can come on anytime, but you may have to sit with the 2 of us. That's awesome.
So I'm picking fights, and I would always pick fights with the biggest kid at school because I had to practice for my sister. So these kids at school would just practice, So I would pick fights, and there was one kid. He's about my size. There's one kid I pick a fight with him, and he stood up to me. And so we fought, and we got grass all in our afros. Right. Yes, I had an afro. I actually had an afro.
How big? Come on, are you exaggerating like I am with fish?
I'll find some pictures
for you. Did you pick it?
When it wasn't like this with grass in it, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's funny. All right, that's awesome.
So we roll around the grass, we're fighting, and we did this 2 or 3 days straight because I could not beat this dude. He'll still tell you he won, but
right.
But I fought him every day, and then I don't know if it went on for
literally
a week.
back to back to back.
Yeah, every day. Like we got to do this again. I'm not losing, and you didn't lose. We got to. If you're still standing up to me after I fought you, we got to fight again until you stop that. And it's been my mentality. And so about that 3rd day, we're in the middle of it. We're tussling, and I just stopped. We both out of breath. I said, "You like G.I. Joe?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You want to spend the night by my house?"
Come on.
Said, yeah. We are best friends today.
You're kidding
we
me.
never stopped.
Over G.I. Joe.
He is a grown man still talking about I'm his best friend, and I'm a grown man still talking about he's my best friend.
I have one at a high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we
special, isn't it?
So he has best friends that he's
no,
got
understood.
in his life.
Absolutely.
I have some in my life, but we're still.
You can have a 3-year gap, pick up the phone, and it's like I never missed a beat.
Longer.
You've heard that before,
Yep.
but yeah, I've been
Longer
longer.
than that. Yep.
I've been longer.
So didn't socialize because I just wasn't around people. Wasn't made to be around.
Did people in the school know you?
In elementary school, not they just knew me to be like I used to run track. All
Okay,
the time.
I want to get to no. You're controlling the story, but just let me know when we get to middle school. Don't let me miss it.
All right,
Because you're at 7th grade.
yeah. Let's jump right into it. So just going back to answer that question you asked me. So because you asked me about the intellect.
Yep.
And so being in gifted class, I was expected to be smart, and so I always had to walk that line where I couldn't be too smart at school because you're not accepted.
Yep.
And I couldn't bring home low grades at home because mom wouldn't accept it. So I would stay in that BC range, you know.
Did you have the outfits and the gear?
Never.
Okay.
No. And
That's why I'm asking, because neither did I. I mean, I grew up poor.
No.
And I mean, that's why I love white shoes.
No,
I'm not joking.
I
This
had-
day, I love white shoes.
No, I had jeans with the little patches on
yeah.
it that don't
Before
match
it was
the
cool,
jeans.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Man, if only ripped jeans were cool.
They were ripped because I was always on the floor. Yeah. And I was a rough little kid. I used to jump off roofs and
Yep.
I was just wild. Matter of fact, my nickname was Wild Man. Wild Man, Stunt Man. Yeah, I was a wild kid. I remember one time it was a sliding board in a playground, tall sliding board, and my mom saw me carrying a sliding board up the ladder because I rolled my bike down it. She said every time she looked out the window to see me doing something, she's raising my insurance because she said
Thought she's going to get paid.
She said I'm gonna cry. She said I'm gonna cry, but I ain't cry for long.
That is funny.
So 7th grade,
Yeah.
7th, 8th grade time period was a very pivotal time for me. Number one, going to that school, being that age, being taught the way I was taught by my dad and taught the way I was taught by my mom, I learned that I was a young black male. And in 1990, which is what we're talking about, in 1990, that meant a lot because it meant that I had to conduct myself this way around police. I had to conduct myself this way around
Yeah, it was a
authority
different
figures.
era than it is today.
And
you couldn't walk up with a camera of some
Right.
sort and
Right.
stand in a cop's face at 1990.
No. And
Yeah,
so,
you getting
You're
beat.
getting smacked.
You're getting beat, especially
Right.
as an African American.
right. So in school, the teachers will literally stand up in front of the class and be like, 1 in 3 kids in this class are going to end up in jail. Like you're teaching this as far as curriculum,
programming,
right? And then you watch the news, and the news is always something happening to a black person, either by cops or by another black person. And the radio, 1990, that's when gangster rap came out.
Yep.
So it was the
NWA.
black. I was scared of the black males too, and I was one of them. And so I had these fears from just being in my skin.
Yeah.
I had insecurities from not being socialized, and all the with my sister bullying me when I was younger, and I was also really, really skinny. I was real skinny, and I had all these insecurities. I had all this looking for acceptance and all of that, and enter alcohol. So I was at a sleepover one time, and we always would sneak like a little bit our parents' bars, because this New Orleans, everybody has a bar. Like everybody, if you don't drink, you still have a bar, because when your friends come over, they can drink,
Right.
And so we would drink like a little bit and laugh about it, whatever. And even growing up, I would sneak little cups, bottles, and cans around the parties, taking little sips. But this particular sleepover, we took several different liquors and mixed them all up, and it just turned green. I've never seen olive green liquor, and there was no green involved, but that's what color it turned. And we all took sips or whatever, and that was the first time I remember getting drunk. I had drank before, but I never got drunk before.
About 8th, 9th grade?
This is 7th, 8th grade summer.
So before 13?
Yeah, right around that. I was like right in that
Just what the
13.
statistic says.
Yeah, right in that area. And so I remember that I didn't feel those insecurities anymore. I didn't care. I wasn't scared anymore. There were violent fights, there were shootings and everything else. None of that mattered anymore, because I didn't care so much anymore. And that was it. I was like,
Flip that switch.
yeah. So what had happened is any chance I got, I would drink. By 14, it was almost every weekend. And by 15, I had a driver's license. In New Orleans, you need to be 15 to get a driver's license. And so by 15, I was driving, drive mom's car. And so I would drink. I was near daily drinking by 15.
Really?
Yeah, I would get a 40 ounce from the store across the street after school. And me and a friend of mine would go sit on the air conditioning vent, the air conditioning machines that have the bushes around them.
That's why you didn't play sports.
And we'd sit there and drink. Yeah,
they get in the way of your drinking.
Right. Yeah. So everything, the bike riding stopped. Everything stopped. It was just about and of course I started smoking about a year later. Not only was I no longer afraid, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And so.
Hope gone, or was ever there?
Well, there was never a need for hope.
Yeah.
Because I never felt like I was in a state of lack back then. I just remember fear, looking back at it. See, while I was in it, I wouldn't have identified it as fear.
Yeah.
It was just cautious. It was just smart. But no, it was a lot of things I was afraid of. But when I drank, I didn't have those fears anymore. So I didn't have those fears. I'm stacking up a woman count. I'm smoking. I'm drinking. I'm fighting. So that's what
people beginning to know you a little bit.
That's what a man is.
Yeah.
And so I felt more comfortable. So when I drink, I felt more comfortable in my own skin. And then after a while, just like college, which we'll get into that, but college, school started interfering with my drinking time. So I started cutting school. And I'll cut school to drink.
So you made it through high school?
I did. I graduated high school.
As a daily drinker? I mean, so from 13 years on, did you ever slow down a little?
I missed 44 days in my senior year, and I only had to be at school for half a day.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's how often I wasn't at school. The way I passed was because anytime I was doing failing or near failing in school, they would offer an assignment, or I would ask for an assignment, and they give me a book report or something. I still haven't read a book in my life. Now, I've read reference books and Bibles and studied things. I've studied many, many books, but I've never just picked up a book for the enjoyment of reading a fiction or nonfiction book just to read it. I've never done that. What I would do was that intellect you talked about, as I've been told a lot of times, too smart for your own good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just look at pieces of the book. And, my favorite character was Bill, because he let Mary blah, blah, blah. And overall, I believe this book was blah, blah, blah. And I would get that B, But my mentality was always kind of just trying to outsmart everything, including myself. And that's why I struggled so much with the spirituality part, because I had to understand God. And there isn't a way to understand God, so I didn't need it. It's in a way. It's not true,
So were you carrying? So to you, it wasn't rape yet. It hadn't.
No, and we're absolutely going to continue.
So this is all going on. That this is what you're still in. That this is what a man is through high school.
Absolutely, because I the older chicks, and the chicks my age, way.
So now you're telling the story, bragging
all the time. Yeah, it was like
my kissing.
That was my introduction. I grew up in New Orleans, and I did this, and I do this.
I was with a woman by the time I was
right,
and there was a mark on your belt.
I couldn't wait for somebody when they say, like, how old were you in your first time? And people like 18 and 16 and 14, and I'm 5. Like, I win. I win the contest.
Wow. And everybody thinks that's cool.
Right.
But they don't know the damage that it does, because that's the most impressionable years, 5 to 8, 9-ish.
Right.
I mean, 7, early teens, but by early teens, you in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, any which way, do your own research. But I do have 3 dynamic adult children, so we did something right. But I always found that there was a reason behind, and that by the time they got to be the early teens, they were just finding their voice to what they had already built.
Right.
They didn't have a voice. You weren't going to tell your mom and dad. And right now, your voice is that you've accepted the definition of what a man was.
Right.
And I'm right in track with you. So you and I are living a little different. We're going to get to it in a minute. This is really funny. I've been making some notes, because you're the cool guy that I always watched. And I was never the first.
And that's why I say you would get along.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have fought.
No, I'd have rode your
Because
coattails.
Exactly. And,
Yes.
and I would have respected that.
Yes.
And
But I'd have had your 6 too.
That's
Yeah, I didn't know when to step in and when out to. My man.
I didn't even have to say it. And that's how we would have got along so well. Because see,
that's how I survived on the street out there.
And that's why I respect it. See, I wasn't like some self-proclaimed leader.
Yeah.
But I needed my way.
But I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
But when you needed the door knocked in, you could literally be leading us to the place. And this actually did happen on off Powers Avenue. We had a dude call us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I may not say his name because he actually used to teach at Episcopal High School.
I got good at leaving everybody's name.
Yeah,
out.
but no, not for you, but just he has nothing to do with this. So anyways, he called us one night and he was drunk off his butt. And there's about 6 of us that lived in this one house. Dude, they're holding me hostage. Not hostage, but they won't let me out. A bunch of guys. So we all dive in this little 2-door Escort, and there's like 6 of us, and we're riding on top of legs, and we're all just getting fired up. We get there. I'm this scrawny kid, but like you, I wanted to be a part of, man. I mean, even if I got my ass beat, it didn't matter. I just had to be in on it. I didn't shy away because I was the man. I was living that man code bull crap, and I remember kicking the door. I had strong legs. I carried furniture my whole life. And I kicked the door in, and here's all these people just partying. And it sort of went semicircle. And there's like 6 of us knuckleheads standing there. And Russ comes around the corner and he's like, fellas, and he's having a blast. And I have just shattered this door, and we are backing out as they're coming in, all climbing back in. And Russ stayed. Yeah. Yeah, but Russ was too
holding them hostage, but he stayed.
Yeah, Russ was a great guy, man. I'm gonna tell you. But Russ was the kind of guy you didn't question him. He wanted to stay. He stayed. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the scrawny one. He was one of them. He was a lot more quiet than I. I wasn't a barker and fighting and everything, but he was quiet. But when he moved, you moved.
Right.
We had 2 in our crew.
Yeah,
and I was not either one of them.
Yeah, we would have got along great because like with the way you describe how you were, I respected that. And what we did is what we wanted to do. It wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yep.
It's like, let's go such and such, and you're like, that's cool. Or let's go here instead. Well, let's go here instead. Yep. But it was a dynamic where as soon as I started hearing your story and hearing you talk, like, yeah, we would have got along great.
But you built that. But you built that code. Because that's not the normal code.
No.
In New Orleans and Jacksonville on the east side, whatever, there's a greed side to it. But there's some camaraderie even in your darker times.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I operated from out of fear until I was able to go back and recognize it. But I operated out of fear and out of self-centeredness, like putting everything around me is about me.
And if you can help them do well, then it'll make you look good,
or they'll accept me.
Yeah,
back to the acceptance. Yeah. And so and all that stuff came into play later. There are a lot of things that I would consider negative aspects of who I was, but it wasn't that it was negative. It's just that I was pointing it at the wrong direction.
Good energy, just wrong channel.
I don't know if any
or good force, wrong channel.
Yeah, any comic book fans. I wasn't in comic books, but as far as comic characters, you remember Cyclops?
Yeah.
He without those glasses.
Yeah.
It's everywhere uncontrolled, but with the glasses it was controlled, and he can tune it. Okay, I had a lot of talent, a lot of good qualities, but it was all over the place.
Did you know it at an early age?
It didn't matter. It was just about survival and acceptance.
But were you aware that others didn't have the skill sets you had?
I didn't care about others. When I say I didn't care about others, it's not like, I don't like you. No, it's like I don't care. Just like if you walk by somebody in a grocery store, don't even make eye contact, barely even notice they were there, couldn't even tell what color clothes they had on. I didn't care. Like it was the absence of caring. It wasn't like I didn't care because I'm mad.
Right.
You just didn't exist. Like your thoughts, feelings, opinions didn't exist.
So how did you keep people around you, or did you?
By doing things to be accepted.
Yeah.
I find
that's where the cool part comes in, the crazy part, the fighter.
When you say, me and my sister didn't get along. Well, my sister, we did this.
Right.
So I wasn't really a one-upper. I just kind of actually lived some one-up stuff. And if I couldn't one-up you on, I have this kind of car. Oh, my uncle has that kind of car.
Yeah.
Because I just need to relate, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was all that stuff was intentional because it was all about just being accepted, you know. And I needed that.
Did people dare you to do things and you were the guy?
Didn't have to.
Okay.
Didn't have
You
to dare.
found it.
I would
quick.
just do it. Yeah.
You'd found it before they can figure out how to dare you.
Yeah. Exactly. I would already be doing it.
Dave?
You're the same way?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I was already doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I know we're trying to move on, but just
No, we're not.
Just to give
No,
you,
I'm good. I like right where we're going.
I want to give you a idea where my mentality was.
At
Even
what
at a
age?
young age. 5th grade, I had we had an assignment, and we had to write down. We had to tell on paper what we wanted to be when we grew up and why. And I wrote a nice paper about being a white collar criminal, because I learned that a white collar criminal is somebody who steals money by just writing stuff, and I knew how to write, and I didn't want to work. So I wrote my paper on being a white collar criminal, and I turned it in, and I got a B. And I asked the teacher why I got a B, because she didn't mark anything off. And she said, well, you got a B because everything's well written, but I don't think that's a good career choice. And that's when I knew I was right, because if I had lied on paper, I would have got an A.
Oh my gosh!
So that's what I knew I was right. And that's the mind that went out of 5th grade into this world. That's the twisted, that logic, you know.
No, that got validated
Right.
at an early age,
Right.
and so from there you just build on it.
Right.
Were you around a lot of Caucasian or other ethnicity teachers, or was it all African American?
So most of my teachers were black. I had my best friend was white. No.
Yeah.
you
got a token white man?
My best friend was black.
All right. Well, you can throw me in your loop now. I'm good.
No, but I had one of the guys I went from kindergarten through 12th grade with. Me and him got along great. They used to call him my shadow in high school. I was a little embarrassed, but it didn't matter, because we knew each other so long, and it worked for him. It worked for me. It was cool.
Yeah.
I kind of him.
So
being
color never was a big thing for you.
It just wasn't. See, for my, my dad didn't hear to tell his story, but for my dad, it was very important. And he was he was very pro-black, anti-white, if you will.
Yeah.
During that time in his life.
New Orleans, it was. I mean,
right, right, because
you had the cops. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
My mother and father were teenagers in the 60s.
Yeah.
So from 1960 to 1970. There was an entire evolution of how this country governs itself.
And who taught them the stories was the ones that were in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
So they were right in their mentality. They're right at the crest.
So they were taught it. Yeah. Then they were empowered to fight it.
Yeah.
So what are they going to teach their kids? Yeah. How to keep that fight going?
Yeah,
so I've never faulted them for it,
Yeah.
But so I understood it, and then remember when I told y'all I learned I was a young black male.
Yep.
That when I got it from home as well. So. I had a really.
Did she have the how to act around cops when driving?
The talk,
conversation with you?
Talk, yes, and that's normal. It's very normal, because it's people say racism is taught at home, and in a lot of I'm not gonna talk about. I'm talking about myself. So what I would hear when I was educated on racism,
right,
was that a black person can't be racist, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And it was explained to me that racism is about power,
right?
It's if I call you something derogatory, that's just me calling something derogatory. But if you own the bank and you think something derogatory about me, I might not get a loan,
right?
So I was taught it as if though there was nobody black that had any power.
Right.
Which is not true.
Victimhood. I mean, victimization.
Right. So it's taught. So it was taught to me.
So that was early. That's in the 90s. That's going on.
And so I moved through life believing that only white people could be racist because they had the power.
Was it validated through your peers?
So at the beginning, I said reality is all about perspective, or about your perception.
Yeah.
Okay. So since I was taught it, I looked for it.
There you go.
So
you look for the similarities, not the differences.
Right. So
ain't that a thing?
So if I get pulled over, and I got pulled over a lot.
Yeah, so did
in
I.
every city and country I've ever been to.
Yep, me too. Dave's laughing. Yep.
And it was always because I was black,
Yeah.
not because I was speeding, ran a stop sign, drinking and driving.
Yeah.
None of that.
Had nothing to do
It
with
was
that.
because I was black.
Racist cops.
Right, and that's the mentality.
Yeah.
And
it can be validated because then they come out, you got a bad attitude and or that look,
Yeah.
and then they meet.
I want to stop and talk about that real quick,
Dude,
because that's
it ain't got to be quick.
It's extremely important. So, now that I know what I know, seen what I've seen, and learned what I learned, I get it from both sides.
Yeah.
Now. Not like I lived
I
as a
agree.
white person or any
Yep.
other race, but I have a fuller understanding now.
Yep.
And so, police officers, and we're not talking about that percentage that are bad cops or that
No
are
doubt.
racist and so forth,
Yeah.
because that percentage is everywhere.
Yep.
That percentage is flying planes. That percentage in black
It's in
or white.
retail.
There's the black person that's not treating anybody outside of black in a nice way, because so that the percentage is everywhere. So we're not talking about those cops. They exist, and that's not debatable,
Right.
Because that they exist in every area of life,
Right.
So we're not talking about that. But a typical police officer, when they choose a car, they choose a car based on whatever it is they choose it on. You see a beat up car, well, they probably don't have insurance.
Yeah.
How you know? Because they didn't use their insurance money to fix their car, or which means if they're tight on money, then they're probably something might be wrong.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, oh, you picked me out because I'm a black man in a such and such. I'm a black man in a beat up car. But what happens when you're a black man in a nice car?
Yeah.
So if a black man in a nice car get pulled over and black man in a beat up car get pulled over, then what the fuck can they pull over? Right? And so when we have this mentality, we're either nervous or angry.
Yeah. Which gives off a vibe.
Which makes when a police officer comes up to the window and say license and registration or whatever, and you're nervous or you're angry, you're on the side of a real police officer, you're on the side of the road. Yeah, you have the gun or whatever, but he might too.
Yeah.
And you're on the side of the road and this person is acting weird.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some backup.
Yep.
Sir, would you step outside the car? Because I need to know why you're acting like this.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have in the trunk. I don't know what you just did.
Yep.
I don't know if maybe you just get nervous around cops. But the only way to find out is to take the next step.
When I let them do their job, and if I'm not guilty, I have nothing to hide.
Yeah, but see,
But I do get freedoms too.
When you watch, and we talked about TV at the beginning. When you watch, the only police officers I've ever seen on the news.
We were talking news. Yeah.
Were these cops that are doing something to black people.
Yeah.
I have not seen a news show where a cop rescued a cat out of a tree.
Yep.
Gave a lady direction somewhere.
Yeah.
Wrote a warning. They're just killing some black dude. And what they show is they show that part. They don't show
and that's
that
their only research is the problem. No one's doing their own digging.
And so they do one or two things. They show this road cop that was just flat out wrong and shouldn't have done it. Yeah. So we blow that up. Or we show this one where they're only going to give you half the story. I watched a lot of police chases. This is something I enjoy watching. I like cars.
Yeah.
So I like to see what is this car?
I'm a YouTube guy. I like that.
Like how does this car perform? I don't even stick around to see who was driving it. But I noticed there was this one show, and this is a real experience, and I love that it happened because it drives home that point. And when I say point, I mean something I had to learn for myself, and understand that it's two sides to this thing. So I saw this news show where they showed this guy, he's getting out of his car, he's got both his hands up, he's trying to kneel down, and these 4 or 5 cops swarm the guy and yank him and throw him on the ground. They jump on top of him, and they're cussing him out and yanking his arms back and all of that. And he's like, wait, all right, wait. And they show that on the news. And so how do you react when you see that? Like, it's happening, and now we have it on camera, it's happening, right? Yeah. And then I just happened to see, totally unrelated, a few years later, I happened to see a police chase. This guy's flying through school zones, almost hit people, ran a car off the road.
Almost clipped a kid.
He's doing like 85 miles per hour in 35-mile zones, jumping, and he wrecked into police cars. And the reason the car was in that position is because he lost control and he spent out. And the cops, all these cops that were chasing him through this town, like 15-minute police chase, swarmed in.
Right.
And the first thing they have to do is get the situation under control.
Right.
Now, this is a person who was willing to do all that to escape.
Right.
So what do you think he's going to do when he get out of that car?
Right.
You don't know. So you have to subdue him as quickly as possible.
And you control the extremities.
And so I used to lose my freaking mind when I would so this is before I would see that video where these cops jumping on this poor guy, you know, and I would see that video, and then a white guy would say, "Well, what happened before that?"
Right.
What do you mean? Look at what they're doing.
Right.
You know. And now when I'm able to stop and look at it from a broader perspective,
Contact.
Yeah. So in order for me to even reach that point, I have to be willing to believe that people do things for reasons I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I have to realize. And once I know that people do things for reasons I don't understand, and realize I don't have to freaking understand what everybody does everything for, then I'm able to take myself outside of myself and look at why they do what they do.
When did you get to that? I mean, what age did you come to? That's early. I mean, recently.
No, late. I learned a lot of this stuff.
Because you're in high school,
so
you don't have that mentality in high school.
No, I spent a lot of time drinking, and I learned a lot of stuff after I stopped drinking. But so let's go back because I wanted to stop. To stop real quick.
I think it's valid.
Just that one example. When you start looking at a lot of other things, and there's so many times where. Well, when I get to college, I'll give you another story.
Yeah.
So that whole, we talked about high school. So, I go to.
So you pass.
Because you asked.
Are
yes,
you
let's
C's,
go back.
A's, B's, C's?
Just enough to pass and to keep mom from punishing me. So C's and B's. I would bring home.
You found that threshold, and
I did get some D's because I was drinking instead of doing homework.
You ever try to make them B's?
No.
They
were computer printouts by then. So
damn! No, they weren't with me. I was just in front of you.
No, I would.
My dad beat my ass.
I would drink, and my mom. That was nothing. My mom never spanked, whipped, any of that stuff.
Woo, son, that was not my journey.
Well, see, part of it was that was her belief.
Yeah,
because she was.
But spare the rod, spoil the child is in the Baptist.
That's what she grew up under.
Oh,
and
so she was not going to do. Okay.
Yeah, and the other part was I'm not going to sit here and say I was a good kid.
Yeah.
If I say I was a good kid, I could hear my mom laughing wherever she at, and this isn't even published yet. She already laughing at me. No, but what I did do was I would love to say I was respectful. What I did I was close. What I did do was
I was not sometimes
I was very careful about getting caught doing anything, and so she didn't see those aspects.
Chameleon's too easy of a word for the skill set that it takes to become what you were becoming.
Right, and
chameleon just doesn't do it justice. People don't really understand the degree it takes to live two different worlds at the exact same time. It's two full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm. It is.
But it also makes you very efficient, even in the sickness.
I was living 4. So I was living the one I described at
home.
Talk
to me.
I was living the one I was describing at home with mom.
Yeah.
Right? Listening to instructions, learning how to cook and doing that. I was wild and energetic, so I had that part going on.
Yeah.
But I wasn't blatantly disrespectful until after the drinking.
Yeah, I
wasn't blatantly disrespectful. I wouldn't.
Well, and you got acceptance from giving them that. Yeah.
And so on a playground, the little vandal.
Yeah.
Right. With the girls,
just enough to be edgy and discreet.
With the girls, whatever the hell it is they need to hear. Now, not lies, but just whatever it was, And then at school, I was quiet. And I wouldn't deal with any girls at my school.
You already had player 101 down.
Right. And I shouldn't say it like right, but
no, but I mean,
because
I didn't even know where the book was at that
time. Yeah. But see, again, it was all survival. It was all how to survive at home, how to survive on a playground. Because remember, I was operating out of fear.
Yeah.
So home wasn't just home. Home was a survival.
Did you know fear and everything?
No.
Crazy question. Did you wet the bed?
Yes.
Till how old?
Wait, but don't tell anybody.
I won't tell nobody. No one watches this, dude.
Don't tell anybody.
Okay, let me guess. 11.
What do you mean?
Did you wet the bed?
And yeah, I said yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to guess till how old? 11,
double that.
22.
Yeah, it was the early 20s, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. Because I was embarrassed, and I would take it to my grave. That's why I say don't tell anybody.
I was 13.
Don't tell anybody.
I was 13.
So I found out way later that children of divorced parents tend to do that.
But my parents were divorced.
Children that were abused will do that. Children that were sexually assaulted will do that.
Wasn't sexually assaulted. But abused, like the belt,
Yeah.
spare the rod, spoil the child. I mean, I went to school with Wells. I love my parents, and they are good people.
Yeah. And children that drink 40 ounces of malt liquor before bed do that.
I hung you on your hang. Sorry, that's awesome.
So yes, I used to, and yes, that was definitely coming to the grave with me. And those are one of those things I had to reconcile way later in life to understand. And the reason I was able to run that down to you is because I finally told somebody. I finally admitted to somebody that was a thing, and I found out that person did it too. And then I learned this other stuff about it, and I was like, well, my thing isn't broken. It's just all this other stuff happened, because it's not like I'm like,
So your mind, the way I see it now, and I don't have the answers. I'm not a psychologist, but it is a journey, and that's why I love talking to men like you. And the next one that's coming on, there's so many other things going on. It's an alarm. It's almost like an alarm, is it not? I mean, because you can drink that much and you still happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't how much.
Yeah, it was built in. It was part of it, and I didn't understand that. It was just embarrassing. It
ruled my young youth.
Yeah. And the irony, drinking probably contributed to it, but it also made me not care about it.
Yeah.
Because when you drink, you don't care. Or when I drink, I didn't care.
Yeah.
So that was high school in a nutshell. Like I said, there was a lot of little violent things I experienced and so forth. But it's just a stereotypical street stuff and stuff at school and all of that. So there's no reason to expound on any of that.
Yeah. So you decided to go to college?
Yes.
To get an education or to get away and have some fun?
I decided to go to college because I was told to go to college.
Okay.
And so that was my decision to do what I was
Acceptance.
told. Yes, I signed the student loan as told, and I went to art school because I remember I used to draw in computer-aided drafting as well. When it first came out, it was a school program, and I was in that, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to design advertisements. That's what I was like. So I came out of 12th grade, wanted to design advertisements. I go to art school because I never thought about college. Like actually, like I didn't want to go to school.
Right.
So why would I think about college? I was drunk on my graduation. That morning we were drinking Jack Daniel's Country Quenchers.
Wow. Did you find your crew that would drink with you?
Everywhere I went in my life.
Yeah.
So I get to college, and college is a whole. That's a podcast. So college, when I got there, it was 4 of us lived in a 3-bedroom.
What state?
Houston.
Okay, Houston.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah. So it was a 4-bedroom. It was a 3-bedroom apartment with 4 of us living in it.
Okay.
And so you have 2 in the master bedroom and then 2 in the other room. And my roommates, I walk in there, the whole house is full of smoke. There's weed smoke and nicotine and cigars and beaties and cloves. I know because I smoked all of them when I was there. And they all drink, and I'm like, cool, and we're all artists, so
I am home.
Yeah. So it started off great, and because mom wasn't there in school, like school was like for 4 hours, and you didn't be there till 1 o'clock sometimes. And it was the perfect setting for budding alcoholic. When I got there, I was already a daily drinker for like 4 or 5 years. At least.
You found others like you?
Yeah, because we all did it, and they did harder drugs. The only reason I didn't
they
do
had to
drugs,
open their minds.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I get into that too.
Yeah.
So the only reason I didn't do drugs is because it was introduced to me as a bad thing. And I watched the results of drug users and drug dealers. And so because I watched the results and it was introduced to me as a bad thing, that's why I didn't do it. And that's probably the only reason. because I would have tried it,
Right.
but I didn't see a positive outcome, so I just never. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't my thing so much that when I was there, I didn't have any money. My mom would send me $40 a week, and she was sending me. She said she sent me that because it wasn't for me to live off of. It was for me to not starve while I'm looking for a job.
Right.
But when I go apply for a job, but they ain't hiring no black man.
Right.
Right?
Houston.
They wasn't hiring a black man. But here was the thing. I would walk into the interview with whatever I had on since yesterday or the day before, whatever. Yellow teeth, smelling like whatever the house smelled like, smelling like alcohol, red eyes.
So it may not have been the black man thing.
And I'm walking in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, we will, blah blah blah."
We'll call you.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's because I'm black. That's why they're not hiring me because I'm. And then I see a black guy bagging groceries. And I'm like, oh well, he a dog.
Yeah.
He got his shirt tucked in.
Uncle Tom or something like
I ain't trying to be after the store. I ain't trying to do this anyway. Like that. I ain't selling out like that.
Right.
And so that mentality.
It's a good outlet.
That was my mentality.
Yeah.
And so I would in order to make money, you got to follow this. Remember you were saying that player hustler thing?
Yeah.
So, and I had all these morals, like the things I wouldn't do, right? Because drug dealing's bad. All of real stuff is bad. I saw the results. So, for money, I would, because my mom bought me a car, old 84 Accord, but it worked.
Oh yeah.
So for money, I would give people rides to and from school because school was like 6 miles away. So I would get money for instead of gas money, I would use that to buy a beer. In order to get food, we had this girl. We're 17 and 18. She's about 16. She's a runaway, and she was staying by us because we had all this stuff at the.
Yeah.
So she had anything she can drink and smoke that she wanted, use as she wanted. But in order for her to stay, she had to bring food. So she would go and steal from the grocery store. So that's how I got my food, and that's how I got my beer.
It's good hustle.
The way I was eating was this girl that I was messing with, and she would invite me over there when but she would always cook. So I was like pimping myself out for a meal. And the girl, we were pimping her out for
It's
food.
a steak at least, right?
Yeah. And that's how I was getting money too. Like there was this one guy. He was like, "Oh, what's up with her? Whatever." I'm like, "Well, you want to hit that?" He was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You gotta give me $50." And he gave me $50, and I was like, "Can I be a pimp with just one hoe? Like this might work out."
Did it turn into that?
For a little while?
Wow.
Yeah, for a little while. So this is how I was. And I also we hooked up with the 979 the box. I won't share too much, even though it's 40 years back, 30 years back.
Yep.
But the people that work there
watch you, take care of you.
Yeah, they drove the van.
Yes.
And so I got a chance to meet some celebrities that came through, and we'd be in the van smoking and all of that to get gas in the car. They pull a van up, I pull my car next to it, and they got the free gas card, and so I'll fill up. So and then also I would do that to get some weed sometimes, and but I would.
So your hustle was full on.
Yeah, and so then there was this drug dealer that lived in the apartments, and he was watching how I would show up at parties and all of that, and I knew everybody. Everybody knew when I walked into any room, they all yelled "Taj in the house." Like everywhere I went.
So you have hit home run.
Right. So I was at
acceptance is there.
Yeah. So I had the girl. And I had the other girl that was feeding me, and I'm working for not working for him, I'm just hanging out with him.
Right.
And
but getting clout from it.
Yeah, and this drug dealer comes along, and he's like, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Explain what that is, so some of those that may not know the 979.
Oh, so 979 the box. That was the local R&B station. That was when it was R&B before they called it hip hop.
Right.
Like it was still they still would call it R&B. They didn't have rap stations.
So you're seeing a lot of artists. You're hanging out with the DJs and
and I would.
And I know what that is in the urban community. That is serious clout.
Right. It's like you're well known and you're not even famous, but you can open doors.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm I didn't mention school because I wasn't really going. And here's why, because
grades not there either.
Yeah, so the drug dealers. I got to school and I found out real quick that I was just a big fish in a small pond when it came to my art.
Yeah,
because I met people who could really paint and draw.
Yeah,
and that discouraged me quickly.
Having me in football in college.
I couldn't beat them up because of it. I couldn't I couldn't draw better than them, and so I didn't have a solution. So I just kind of dropped out. I quit.
Yeah.
You know, but before I quit, this drug dealer I dealt, I met. He was trying to give me the cell phone, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. You know, I don't touch that. He said, you don't touch anything. All you gotta do is just, you go to all these parties. Just, if someone's looking for anything, just let me know and I'll take care of it from there. I'm like, all right, cool. You know.
Yeah.
So, and to pay me, he would just give me a little bag of weed.
Right.
You remember I talked about how I'm not into drugs, but alcohol is my thing?
Yeah.
So I became what you call now the plug.
Yeah.
At all these parties I'm at, right? And I would always come in with weed. So they could ask where I got it from. You know, I would always come in with weed, but I would come in with weed so that I can exchange it for these free drinks. So I was literally trading weed for alcohol. That's how much of an alcoholic I was.
Wow.
And so I had all this stuff going on. But if you notice, I'm getting $40 from my mom and about $40 or $50 from somewhere else. I'm broke as hell.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because I was getting the alcohol and the acceptance. So I never even thought about I thought about how broke I was, but it didn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're broke when you can still talk to some chick, you know? And so
Did you make it through college?
no.
Okay.
So this was a year of my life that I just talked about.
Yeah.
No, 9 months actually. Things started getting too, you know, people started talking too much. Drug dealer threatened my life. I retired.
You stayed in one spot too long.
Yeah, he threatened my life, and then I retired from my career of plugging. Because he was like, you know, he said that words getting around. I was like, well, I'm not talking. And he was like, well, they better shut up. I'm gonna shut you up. I'm like, well, I'm done. I'm not even going to parties anymore.
Real player.
And so so you mentioned school and the grades. I did get some passing grades, but that's because the teachers wanted coke.
Wow.
So they give me a grade to keep me in school because if I left, they lost their hookup.
Wow.
And so when you mentioned that hustler player, whatever, so the mentality was there, but I didn't know how to use it for anything worth anything.
Yeah.
That's the Cyclops with the, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use it for anything outside of just my short-sighted. I just wanted something to drink. And I couldn't see beyond the drinking. Because that's what made it all work. That's what made it feel better. That's what made me. That was the camaraderie. So I just didn't see trying to succeed in anything because I was already successful at getting alcohol and friends, you know. And once it got too busy, too hot or whatever, I ended up at a crash pad or a trap house as they call it now. So it's 7 dropouts in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh man.
We were all staying there off of one of them's trust fund. So he's blowing the trust fund on drugs, guitars, video games, and in an apartment with all these people just hanging out. And that's who funded all of it. And
no thought of the future.
None of us at all. And so one day I woke up. It was me and the guy that whose apartment it was. We were sitting around prank calling. You know, you used to have the phone book, and we were prank calling. I remember there was a name Dick Fitz, and I thought that was hilarious. That was his real name. 'Cause he was like, his name's Richard Fitz. It's Dick Fitz. You know. So we did this till like 8 in. So I've been smoking and drinking all night, and we were sharing a whole bottle of E&J. No, Southern Comfort, because I whole bottle of Southern Comfort, and we were just passing it back and forth, and ended up passing out on the kitchen floor, drinking and prank phone calling people, right? 8 in. And I remember these times because this is when we talked about the God thing. This had to be the first time that I could say that God was in my life. That I could say God was in my life. I know
1920.
So I'm 19 years old. Yeah. And of course I know God's been in my life the whole time. I just wasn't aware. But so it's 8 a.m. and we pass out because we spent the whole day drinking and smoking. Right. At 10 a.m., 2 hours later, my eyes pop open and I'm completely sober. And everything's crystal clear. Everything I'm seeing is it's like
2 hours.
2 hours of sleep off of passing out off of Southern Comfort, lots of weed and lots of alcohol. Yeah. All day. Because it was never a break. There wasn't a sober day.
Right.
You wake up, start drinking, and you pass out.
Right.
Over and over and over. and it's complete clarity. And then I stood up, and I'm looking around, and there's these people, because there was a party the night before, I guess.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of it, but apparently there was a party there. And they're like laid out all over the floor because there's no furniture.
Yeah.
There's a TV on a milk crate, and I forgot what they sat on. It wasn't a sofa, but it was something 2 butts could fit on, you know.
Right.
And they're all passed out all over the floor. And so I start stepping over people because I'm going to get my stuff, you know. And so I find my shoe, and the one pair of shoes I had at the time, and there's dog crap in it. Somebody put some inside my shoe as a joke, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, we had a dog.
Yeah.
We got on the road somewhere. I don't remember. I remember getting a dog on the road. I don't know why we kept it. We didn't feed the dog.
And so figured out something.
We just had a dog, and so I pull the sole out of the shoe and stick my foot in it, and then I find the other shoe, and a friend of mine who comes into the story again, he woke up, and he was like, "What you doing, Taj?" I said, "I'm leaving." And he said, "Where you going?" I said, "I don't know." I just knew I was supposed to leave. Yeah. And so I grabbed my bag, which I had like 3-4 outfits max left, you know. And I walk outside, but I remember my car wouldn't start because it broke down. We didn't know what the heck was wrong with it. We couldn't fix it, didn't have the money to fix it. And I actually ran the gas out trying to, you know, start it and run it to try to, you know, so there was no more gas in it. And so I was like, I'll just go check the ATM. Now, my mom puts $40 in there every Saturday. This is Friday. I go check the ATM and the money's there. And I know it came on Saturday because I will be there Saturday at 9:58, 9:59, 10:02.
Counting that.
Yeah, you know.
Give me.
And so that $40 was in there. And then I was like, you know what? I need to go get some gas. And so, but the car's not working. So I'm like, I get in the car, turn the key, it starts right up. After sitting there it had to be like 2 months.
Not running.
Not running, couldn't start it, ran the gas out, wouldn't even start. And it starts right up. And so I drive to the gas station, and it stalls out about 10 feet from the pump. So I get out, push it up to the pump, put the $40 in the gas tank, on the road to New Orleans. And on that road to New Orleans, I realized the way I say it is a God I didn't believe in answered a prayer I never prayed.
Oh man.
You know, and I get home and I look exactly like the story I told. So when my mom and sister at home, my sister opens the door, and she was like, "My brother home," and her face just dropped. And when she saw how I looked, I was skinny, I was frail,
Because you've been gone for how long?
A year. It took a year for me to do that to myself.
Wow.
You know,
that's fast.
Cheeks sucked in, skinny. I was like probably like about maybe, I don't know, probably 140 pounds tops. Yeah, and my mom saw, she was like, "Oh, he's just tired. He needs to, you know, get some rest," because she's trying not to react.
Mama.
Yeah, because I wasn't answering calls. They hadn't heard from me. They hadn't heard from me in like 6-7 months.
You just show up.
Yeah. And so I go to sleep. I slept for 3 days.
Wow.
I slept for 3 days, and I remember waking up every now and then. Remember, I'm just 19 years old. I remember waking up every now and then when my mom would she'd bring some food to the room. I eat a little to none of it and just fall back to sleep. It was 3 days of that, and finally I woke up, and I felt a little better, and I called back to let them know I made it home. Call back to the apartment, but nobody answered. So that's strange, you know. And then I called a few more times, nobody answered. And so after that experience, what I learned was nothing. I called up my friend, the one I used to fight with in school. He came over, found out I was in town. We jumped in the car, go get 40 ounces. Just like old days. Again. Yep. Right after. The only reason I went 3 days without drinking is because I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
The minute I could stand on my feet, I went and got something to drink. So that's the alcoholic I was, you know. And then
did it start with the mental?
What do you mean?
Is it the mental obsession before the physical? Or
I think for me it was just that feeling of everything's okay when I drink. Even if I feel sick, I drink and I don't feel sick anymore. Now it might be making me
Just
sick.
get me to that drink.
Yeah, I just feel better. I just felt better after that drink.
That sounds like mental obsession.
Yeah. And so we head off. We get to the store. I'm telling him like I'm really in the same car.
Yeah.
It's still running smooth.
Yeah.
You know, because God fixed it.
God
for me.
fixed it so you can go get some alcohol. Of course,
So I can go
absolutely
and continue abusing it. Right.
Makes perfect sense to me.
And I'm telling him like yeah, but it was hearing his knocking. You know, while we were driving. He was like, it's just the lugs. No, it's not the lugs. I just drove from Houston. You know, I don't know what it is. And he knows about cars. He's like, bro, I think. And we're coming over a bridge, Seabrook Bridge. We're coming over the bridge, and we're coming down. And he's like, you sure it's not the lugs? I was like, bro, I told you it's not the. As soon as I said it's not the lugs, the driver's side front just drops.
Oh my god!
Sparks just shooting up in the window.
Do you
just
see the wheels shooting off?
No, all I saw was just these sparks, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
I'm slamming on brakes, but it's not stopping.
No, there's
because
no
we're going
wheel.
downhill. Yeah, and I look over at him, but he's laughing his ass off. He is laughing his ass off. Like we're sliding into and then thing stops like just inches away from the embankment. You know, the bridge.
How lucky do we get? How many chances?
I'm 19.
Yes.
I ain't done. You know?
Right.
And so we walk home laughing. Mom didn't find it funny at all.
Of course not. No.
We thought it was
Now,
hilarious.
she has no car now.
She has no. It was my car.
Oh, okay,
But
so
she
sorry.
has no sense of humor.
Okay,
But that was a problem.
Yeah, of course. When the wheel came off.
Yeah, it was just the fact that the first thing I did after 3 days of her nursing me back to health was to go do this, you know.
Right.
And so she was like, well, you can't stay here unless you get a job. So I went and looked for jobs, but they wasn't hiring no black people in New Orleans.
Yeah.
80% black, by the way.
Right.
But it's because I'm black.
Right. Black-owned businesses too.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And the only people they were hiring my age, they were already in college, and college was not an option. I wasn't going back to college, you know.
Yeah.
And so I hung around doing nothing, and I did get a job for 6 weeks. Lost that job.
Yeah.
And
How long do you stay in New Orleans?
that's where I'm going. So I'm in New Orleans for about maybe about 6 months or so, give or take. Maybe not even that long until final straw. Mom had to kick me out of the house.
I've been there.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and she should have kicked us out.
Yeah.
Should have kicked me out. But she was like, you know, I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. You know, you're not working, you're not going to school, you can't stay here. You know, and so Dad was in Pensacola at the time. He had moved the job, laid him off, and then they gave him a new job in Pensacola. So he came down, and I guess they had talked about this stuff already. I wake up that next morning and Dad's already there. You know, at Mom and Dad at the table. There's no food on the table. There's about to be a discussion. You know, and so I sit. You know, they called me and I sit in the seat, and my mom said, you know, I told you, Dad, I'm kicking you out, and you're lucky that he letting you stay by his house. And my dad said, the only way you're staying by me is if you join the military, you know. And he said, I was in the Navy, and I think the Navy would be a good fit. And I'd never done it before. I stood up, banged my fist on the table, and I said, fuck the Navy.
How long before you were joining?
So my Navy career.
So 20 years old, you went in the Navy?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's
I
funny.
did the delayed entry thing. I got there. They found some warrants in Houston.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the warrants were for. Apparently, it was some tickets and a failure to appear in court. I didn't even know I had got subpoenaed to court. Remember that drug dealer?
Yeah.
Yeah, they called me about that. And I wasn't there. And he went to jail. And the recruiter, I got a high enough score in the ASVAB, and the recruiter just waived. They waived it. They waived all the the warrants.
Which isn't normal in the Navy.
Well, so the thing is, I got a really high score, and I could have, you know, it was high enough to go to the Air Force or whatever. But they saw what they had in front of them. Number one, they needed people. It's Desert Storm.
Yeah.
This is Desert Storm time. So they needed people.
Yeah.
And if all this, the only thing that's stopping us from getting this guy in here to do whatever job we want him to do, because he doesn't know what the hell he wants to do, is just to call up Houston, and they did whatever they did, and they got rid of the warrants, and he asked me, he was like, "Did you ever smoke marijuana?" And I'm like,
What is it?
yeah. And so I you know, got to boot camp. Of course, I was drunk on the stairs when a recruiter came to pick me up.
Really?
I spent 4 months in my, in delayed entry by my dad in Pensacola.
Because of drinking, or
Well, no, what? Yeah, let me back up. So when I joined the Navy, they said I had to wait 4 months before I could actually go after they accepted me.
right?
And my mom was like, "Well, you still can't stay here." I'm like, "Well, damn, I joined."
I
Like,
joined it.
She was like, "Yeah, but you still can't live here. You know, after what I did." So I stayed with my dad for those 4 months. That was more drinking. I drank the whole time.
Was he aware? I mean,
Oh yeah.
But he's just waiting for you to get
this
in the military.
Yeah, and this is normal. Like I mean, this dad is like that's normal. Like it's normal to drink, and it was cool to be able to drink a beer with your son.
Yeah.
Who just came back from college and it was going to the Navy.
Yeah.
Freaking toast, you know. You know what I mean? And so I sat around all day drinking while he was at work, you know. And I was never a stumbling, bumbling drunk. I was more of a sip of beer or 20 and maintain and slur and stuff, you know, but I wasn't a rowdy drunk,
Right.
you know. And so
You stayed in the house drinking most of the time?
yeah, there was nowhere else to go. You know, that's one girl came over and I was like, "So what y'all do for fun?" She was like, "Oh, mostly spend time with my family and fish." I'm like, "Well, we have nothing in common."
Pensacola Beach was out there at that time.
But I didn't know anything about it.
gotcha.
I'm looking for where you can drink and who I can drink with. She didn't drink. She would, so you know, and so recruited. So I make it back to New Orleans for the recruiter to pick me up, and so I drank until 5 a.m. because I heard you can't drink at boot camp, right?
Right.
So I didn't even go to sleep. I just stayed up drinking and talking to friends and stuff like that. You know.
Have you ever detoxed? Because you've been drinking like pretty steady.
No, at this point, not yet. No. And then I get to the airport.
Come on, you detox in basic?
So I get to the airport, drink some more.
Holy crap, bro.
And then I got to the second airport where they pick you up, and they weren't there yet. So I drink some more, and then get to I get there, and everybody's like nervous and scared because they're yelling and we
You're
all lined
chill.
up. And I'm like, "Where's your bathroom?" I just gotta pee, you know. And so I went to boot camp, and what I found in boot camp was I went almost because it was like the little period where we had to wait before we actually started. I went 3 months with no alcohol, with no cigarettes, and I was the healthiest and most fit I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I can do this. I'm done with this smoking and drinking. I don't need it. And so I went to school in San Diego, hospital corps school. I was a corpsman. So I go to school in San Diego. We get to the barracks, and I'm there, and I go downstairs where they have the little lounge or whatever. And they had a rule where you can have 2 beers if you're 18. And I joined when I was 20.
Right.
And they say you can, so it's underage.
Right.
But they say you can have 2 beers. And I'm like, well, why would they do that? It was like, well, to stop you from going out anywhere else to drink or whatever. And I'm like, well, you can't drink if you're underage, so I can have my 2 beers. What could go wrong?
Right.
So 2 beers later, I don't know what happened. I just know that I was with. I found myself sitting in a chair with a white Navy T-shirt with my name stenciled on it.
Right.
Some shorts I borrowed from somebody. Some socks and those shower shoes.
Yes.
The flesh tone shower
Yes.
shoes.
That we all know where they are at.
Right.
Yeah. Well, those of us that have been in jail.
with a Dos Equis in his hand, beer, a cigarette in his hand, in Tijuana, Mexico, with my new best friend sitting next to me.
Oh, wait, you're not in jail. You're in Tijuana. I thought you were talking about the Bay's jail shoot.
I ended up in Tijuana
From Houston.
drinking. Yeah, I mean, from boot camp.
Okay, from boot camp.
I ended up in Tijuana. 2 beers at core school, then bam, I'm in Tijuana drunk.
But you're in basic still.
Well, this is right after basic when I was
Right after basic.
immediately after you go to school, like
Right.
immediate. So you fly from there to San
Right.
Diego. Oh, I'm sorry. Basic was in how about to say Norfolk? Basic is in Great Lakes, Illinois.
Okay.
And so I flew from there to San Diego, and that's where they had that 2 beer thing. And so yeah, and
And you don't remember for after the second beer.
I don't remember. I don't remember how I ended up in Mexico. I know I only had 2 beers. I remember somebody saying you can buy alcohol in Mexico, and I'm like, let's go. I didn't have any clothes, so that's apparently where I borrowed the clothes. And so I get there day one of classing up. I get there. That's the next day. I'm late. I'm smelling like alcohol.
Sure.
I'm wobbling, trying to stand
Sure.
at attention because I didn't shave because I just got home like 2 hours ago, and there's 2 hours again.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and you have to have your ID in your pocket or whatever. And we're brand new, you know.
Right.
And so he comes up to me and he looks at me, and then he opens my my pocket and pulls out my ID card. It's some white guy. I had the wrong ID card, and he was like, "Where's your ID card?" I was like, "Mexico, petty officer." Like, he calls me in the office. He was like, "Do you want to be a corpsman? Do you want to be a corpsman?"
Oh my gosh.
Well, I need you to shave. We said I need you to shave, to clean yourself, do something with your breath. And if you come in here ever in my office again with one white sock and one black sock on, I'm sending you straight back to. So that was day one after boot camp.
Jeez.
So, and it just kept going.
3
like
months and then that.
Yeah, it just kept going like that. Yeah. And, I mean, I can take a break. I've been talking for a minute, but I mean, so do you have any questions while I'm rolling through this?
No, I have more questions, but it's just to keep it. This is why we're on here. This is not for me to talk. This is a journey. The lessons will be taught without me talking.
Oh yeah.
So you're in military. You get through boot camp. You get stationed where initially?
So first duty station was NAS Jacksonville.
Okay, so you're in Jax.
I was stationed at the hospital.
And how long were you in the military total?
So total I was in 20 years.
Oh, so we're going back up then. I thought it'd be like a quick stint.
No,
drunkenness got me out.
No,
you literally were able to carry this on
for 10 years of my 20 years. So when I got
about 30.
Yeah, so 33 years. So yeah, I might have been a little older than that. I was like 32, I think, when I quit, somewhere around there. So those 4 years here. So the first year I was working at a family practice or primary care, and that's where we did check-in, blood pressure, minor procedures. You can do a little bit of everything in primary care because everybody comes there first, primary care, and so you got a lot of exposure. Did a lot of as far as medical, a lot. Now maintaining a job was never an issue. Patient care throughout my whole career was never an issue. It was making it there on time. And hiding that smell was the difficult part. Getting along with staff. Because remember, I wasn't very social, outside of drinking. If you're not my drinking buddy, we have nothing in common, And so I spent about a year there, kept getting in trouble, and kept being late. UA, which was like missing days, or where I missed the day of work a couple times. And then finally, someone else got in trouble at the level 3 inpatient alcohol rehab facility. A corpsman over there got in trouble for sleeping with one of the patients in an inpatient place, a female. Okay. And I was in trouble. So what the Navy does sometimes back then is they'll just try to they give you a new start before they just start slamming you and kicking you out and stuff. And so they swapped us. They swapped us. And so here I am, full-blown alcoholic with no intention on stopping. And I'm working at a level 3 alcohol rehab facility.
The irony.
And so I'm watching these people come in at the end of their drinking. They're ending their careers. Worst case I saw was a guy had 19 and a half years in the military, officer, on his way home because it was his third time getting caught doing cocaine. No retirement, no benefits, nothing, because he didn't make the 20 years. And I watched people die there. I watched people go through detox there. I saw every example of why not to drink. I saw the people coming there still not accepting their problems and all of that.
You still drank, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I drank every day. That's where I got my DUI. That's why I went to my first inpatient, intensive outpatient program. Yeah, I in Jacksonville alone, I've been to captain's mast, court martial, OIC's mast. I was switched over to another department. I lived in a restricted barracks. I got busted down in rank, and I still drank the whole time.
None of it was enough. So punishment
none of it
ain't the answer.
No, none of it. None of it stopped me. Watching the results didn't stop me.
Intellect ain't the answer because you saw it.
Once I understood what alcoholism was, I'm like, okay, maybe I have that, but
what did you think alcoholism was at that moment?
So when I got there, I thought alcoholism was a person who couldn't get their way out of trouble with their drink.
Yeah.
Like if you can't even get out of trouble with your drinking, then you must be an alcoholic.
Yeah, what
See, I
most
kept
would
getting
call
out
a
of trouble.
functioning drunk.
Yes, yeah. So I was always able to get out of trouble,
Yeah,
but I wasn't.
yeah.
Did you hear all the trouble I got in? But in my mind, in my alcoholic mind, I didn't get in trouble.
How do you explain an alcoholic delusion?
You can't. You
can't.
can't.
I mean, they watch it.
You can explain an alcoholic delusion, I believe, to a person who is recovering from alcoholism.
Yeah.
I don't think you can explain it to a sober person, or to a person who doesn't drink or isn't an alcoholic, because it's insane.
Well, you've made this a deep topic, and so I want to stay on this since you're here. Talk to the family member that wants to will their loved one into sobriety, or talk to their loved one, or educate their loved one, or show them the pictures.
Okay. If you have a family member who you believe is an alcoholic, you have about as much control over their alcoholism as they do. And you might need help with your problem.
And obviously, no one's blaming any family members for it.
So
in order how to deal with it, because I've talked to so many family members, and you see it in their eyes. They just want you to help. And
so
you're like,
when you love this loved one, this dad, this brother, this daughter,
because I have it in my family right now.
Yeah, when you love this person, this family member, and you want what's best for this person, and you care about them, you genuinely care. And part of your identity is being that mother or that father or that cousin or that brother that looks out for their family member. It's very difficult to accept the fact that there's no way to control it. And that's why I know it's blunt the way I said it, but the only thing a family member who is still trying to somehow help a person who can't stop drinking, there's no end to trying to help them, because they can't stop.
Yeah.
And if you can't stop them from drinking and they can't stop them from drinking, you end up with the same life. Like it's the same. So
it's
that's
just
why,
without alcohol.
So it's really blunt the way I said it. But when I say maybe you have a problem, the problem is the person who's trying to help is what they call codependency. The person who's trying to help is dependent on the alcoholic just as much as the alcoholic is dependent on the alcohol.
Mm.
And that belief that one day they'll just stop, or one day you'll just be able to give them enough.
Yeah.
That's the same delusion that the alcoholic is living, that one day they'll be able to just stop.
Yeah.
One day they'll have enough. It's the exact same thing. It's no different. And it's no way, if a person is not an alcoholic or a drug addict, there's no way to understand it, because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's not
logical.
And because it's not
logical.
And so so I would just real quick, I'd like to explain it.
Yeah.
The way I understand it is I'm going to say, so I have experience working at the alcohol rehab facility.
Right.
I've been through 2 intensive outpatient treatment
Right.
facilities. I am an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic.
Right.
I also
With some
have,
time under your belt.
I also have certification as a drug and alcohol program advisor.
I did not know that.
Occupational therapy, which is recovery.
I did not know that.
And then there's some counseling involved in that. So I know the whole DSM-4, the DSM-4 TR, and the DSM-5, which is a diagnostic where they give you diagnosis. Diagnosis over the years has changed from derelict, wino, alcoholic, alcohol dependence, alcohol use disorder, and on. It's been called so many things, right? And with all that experience and all these books of knowledge, there's this stuff I read, right? And these people I saw, both sitting in the chair with the wheels and a couch,
Right.
right? It comes down to one question. You don't need the questionnaires. You don't need the diagnosis. It comes down to one question: how much is enough? See, a person that doesn't drink at all, they're gonna say, "Well, I don't drink." A person that's what you call a social drinker, or somebody who drinks responsibly, who doesn't have alcoholism, they're going to say, well, I have a couple beers and after that, or if I have one of these, that's enough. Or if I got to pick my kids up, I don't, and an alcoholic is going to ask for clarification. because there's no enough. They don't have
Looking for loopholes.
Yeah, enough is when you run out of pass out. So an alcoholic doesn't know how to answer that. So full circle, when you go to that family member, like mom, how long are you gonna keep on, going down this path with your son? There is no end. There isn't enough. There isn't enough because I'm a mom and I love my son and I'll do anything for my son. And it's extremely difficult to break that for mom to understand that she can't control. She can still love her son. She can still be there for her son if he's recovering. But as long as that son, I'm just using son and mom for example.
Absolutely.
As long as that son is still actively using with no success at quitting, she's on that roller coaster down the gutter with him. And that's
exhausted.
it. Yeah. And so I don't know how a mother just says, son, that's enough. I don't know how a father says, daughter, that's enough. I don't know how the daughter says, dad, that's enough. I don't know what it would take for the outside person that loves the alcoholic to say it's enough, but it has to be done.
Because you didn't really have that. I mean, your family was basically gone. You went on your own.
My family drink socially. I could say somebody's alcoholic in my family, but there's people, they all drink because that was the culture in New Orleans. Everybody drinks. Yeah. The Navy is a drinking culture.
Absolutely. Military in general.
The woman I married had a father who drank. And I was military. Yeah. So it's just normal. It's just natural. And codependency runs along with it.
It was abnormal if you didn't.
Right. Yeah. And so codependency, my girlfriend in high school, well, her father passed away. But he offered, the first date he offered me a beer. And I drank, but I'm like, no, thank you. Because I'm about to drive his daughter. I'm thinking that's a test. I'm getting drinks when we leave. I'm not drinking with you. Because you're going to be I caught you. So like, no thanks, man. And he looked at me weird. And when we got in the car, she said, you should have just took the beer. I was like, why? He's like, because he doesn't trust you now. And guess what? When I drank, I didn't trust people who didn't drink either. I didn't, because I don't understand that. Yeah. If you don't drink, either you're lying or you're up to something.
Because there's no way you can't.
You just don't drink.
Yeah.
Like, no thank you.
Yeah. no thank you didn't exist.
Yeah,
so get me to the last year.
The last year.
Where it's, I mean, your drinking has just hit a height, I would imagine.
So I can get you right up to the last week, last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, so what was it that got you to the point of
to where I was like, that's enough. Enough?
Yeah, I was just about to quote it.
So by the time I felt like it was enough, I had unsuccessfully tried to quit drinking a few times.
On your own?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 times. The longest I went was 39 days one time. I decided I was going to quit drinking for 40 days. Because somewhere in the Bible said something about 40 days being a thing.
40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah, 40 days shows up all over the place. I'm like, if I can do it 40 days, then I'll be done with it. So on day 39, I was like, I can do this. So maybe I should drink one more time since I'm not going to drink forever. And I continued drinking for almost 10 years after that. So, so I got to the point to where I was always depressed. I was always thinking about just not being here.
Yeah.
I didn't have any plans to off myself or nothing like that. I just always was thinking like, what if I wasn't here, or how easy
Were
it would
you
be.
on the boats much with the Navy?
No, I was overseas a lot, and I was also in clinics. And so but I was overseas, but I was on a ship one time. That's other stories too. But I was so that's where I was mentally. The marriage was it was just awful. Like, when I say awful, my world and being in my marriage was awful. And
kids involved or no?
Yeah, I had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Wow.
Daughters, yeah. And it was just bad. I was never abusive, but I was very neglectful, And
well, you'd made a reason in your head as to why. I mean, they didn't accept you.
My job was to provide and protect, and I was doing that. So leave me alone so I can go drink.
Yeah.
And that was my logic. It was that cut and dry, You have all the stuff you need, now leave me alone. Because
Did you drink in the house?
No, I drank in a pat. I drank in a pat. I drank on the patio while I was smoking because I was smoking and drinking at the same time.
Gotcha.
And I remember my daughters, they'd be like their faces would be on the window on the patio, and I'm telling them to get away.
So they wouldn't watch.
Well, no, yeah, because drinking and smoking is bad,
right.
and I'm not a bad dad,
Right. So you don't want to be a bad example.
Yeah, but I was never not drinking,
Right.
So I was no example,
Right.
you know. And I used to close the curtain when I go out, so they can't even peek and see me.
Did your wife ever try to talk to you?
But we went through a lot, you know. There was a lot.
Well, you're so intellectual to try to get a point across to you. If you were a drunk, I mean, you could spin a web so fast.
Smart for my own good.
What is it they say in that program? There's many. I've never seen anybody that's not smart enough. No. I've never seen. Hang on, I've never seen anybody too stupid, but I've seen a lot of them too smart.
And that's what I was when I went into it. So
took me there a second. I'll let you know.
Right? You know, you got it. So everything's in the toilet. Finances are slipping. You know, I got my little allowance enough to drink. You know, and she did whatever she wanted with the rest, and everything was bad.
Was she working out of the house as well?
No.
Okay.
She wasn't working.
But did it ever become an idea? Well, maybe if I get her working too, that's a little extra money.
Like I said, a marriage is a whole thing to unfold. But there was a lot going on in a marriage.
Gotcha.
It was a very unhealthy marriage.
Yeah, heard.
And so I decided, well, I'm going to go to psychiatry to see what's going on with this depression and all this other stuff, because job, you know, everything. And so I sit down and the lady, this is like in August of 2007. And she sits down, so what's going on? And I spend 45 minutes, kind of like I just did. Yeah. I spent 45 minutes telling her, you know, marriage this and the career is this and the kid, you know, and my 6-year-old won't listen to me, you know, like that's what they do. Right? Yeah. And you know, and money is, and you know, I'm sick of, you know, and 45 minutes in, she just stops me and she says, "How much do you drink?" And I went,
"Wow."
I went, "2."
Wow. I didn't like you were talking to a cop. A couple.
It's always 2.
It's always 2.
It's always 2. Watch all the cop shows.
It is.
Ask your family. It's always a couple beers. It's always 2. It's always 2. Right. It's 2 because 1 is unheard of. They can't imagine drinking 1.
Right.
And if they drink 3 or more, that means they're an alcoholic.
That's right.
So it's always 2.
Always 2.
That's why. Because if I tell you it's 3, then you think I'm a drunk.
Yep.
If I tell you it's 3 and I look fine, then you know I'm a drunk, right?
Yep.
So it's always 2.
I never thought that deep about it.
Yeah. So I said 2, but I didn't say 2 what? I didn't say how often. I just yelled out the number 2. And so she says, she takes her glasses off, looks straight at me, and she says, "You're an alcoholic. And if you keep drinking, you're going to die an alcoholic death. I don't want to see you in my office again until you quit drinking."
Had she talked to any of your family members or anything?
Nope.
She just nailed it.
That was day 1. I had not mentioned a single thing about alcohol. And she said that, and I'm like, what a bitch. My whole world is falling apart, and she wants me to stop doing the one thing that give me a little peace.
Right.
And then want to act like that's the problem.
I knew it. That's what them psychologists always want.
Like that's the problem.
Right.
You know, not the wife or not FEMA for what they do. You know, none of that's the problem. Somehow it has something to do with my drinking. Right. And I wasn't trying to hear that. But I said, you know what? I'll play a game. You know. Yep. I said, well, how long? Because I needed. I couldn't say forever.
Give me a parameter.
Yeah. And she said, I tell you what, 1 week, come back next Tuesday, because it was a Tuesday. Come back next Tuesday. If you hadn't had anything to drink by then I'll see you. I was like, all right, good, you know. And
7 days.
Stuck my hand out to shake her hand, and she wasn't even trying to shake my hand. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'll see you next Tuesday. And I pushed the door open, put my little cover, my Navy cover on, and as soon as that sun hit me, I was like, now how the hell am I gonna make it home without buying something to drink?
Wow, I was about to ask.
I didn't even think about driving past the liquor store, because I never thought about driving past the liquor store, like ever, you know. And
so the words you told her didn't even nothing ring.
Yeah, I was just like, you know, I could go a week. You know, I can stand on my head and do a week.
No, but I mean, once you got out there, her voice wasn't even there.
Well, it's like I didn't think about the fact that I actually had to go a week without drinking. I just wanted help with my problem.
Yeah, and so, it wasn't drinking.
And so so if I could tell this lady I wasn't drinking, then we can get to my problem.
Boom.
Right?
Because you knew it wasn't that.
Yeah, and so I go
delusion.
Yeah. So I went Tuesday, went Wednesday, went Thursday, went Friday. Saturday was my youngest daughter's 2nd birthday, and and my father-in-law came by. Also, she was turning 3, and my father-in-law came by. And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you were trying to cut back on your drinking, so I bought." And he's got a six pack of light beer, because it's lighter,
Right.
'Cause he drinks liquor, so he didn't know. So
Yeah.
and I'm trying to cut back, but he won't come empty-handed, And so I can't be inhospitable to my father-in-law. So
He brought you beer.
So I drank a beer with him. Was one beer gonna hurt? And I did. And I opened another one and I stopped. Because remember I told her 2?
Yeah.
So if I drink less than 2, I got this thing beat.
Yes.
Right? And so this is the delusion, right? And so I drank a beer and a half. I poured out that second half of that beer. And then I said, "You can take those with you. I'm not drinking them."
All proud.
Right. I don't need those.
Yes.
And he takes them and he's gone. And then I made it through Sunday somehow, like all night and Sunday. And then I made it through Monday and I show up Tuesday. And I don't know if I'm shaking or not by then, but I show up on Tuesday and she said, "So how'd it go?" I said, "It went great." Like, ask me anything.
Right.
And she's like, "Did you drink?" I said, "I had 1 beer." I didn't want to mention a half.
Right.
'Cause,
Right.
That
is fun.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just 1. So I was like, I had 1
Should
beer.
have told you an alcoholic right there.
And she said, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you." And I'm mad at her. I'm like, "Well, I drink one freaking. Do you know how much I used to drink? Like,
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment." And she said she couldn't see me, so I walk out angry. Anger was rolling with me all through this stuff. And I went on a 3-week bender. I drank every day from the time I got off work to a little later than I used to try to cut it off, so I wouldn't smell like it the next day. And I kind of struggled through that stuff and all of that. And it was 3 weeks into this, and I was coming, and there was a point where I tried to quit by switching over to wine.
Yeah.
And so I buy a bottle of wine, and I did it.
Because it's the beer that's the problem.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
the liquor.
Yeah. Well, remember how smart I am?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I did the math.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so there's this much alcohol in 6 beers and this much in a bottle of wine. So that comes out to 4.5 beers worth of alcohol in a wine. So if I drink just the wine, that's cutting down. But I get a whole bottle of wine out of the deal, right?
I don't know any normal drinker that does that.
And I used to when I would drink a beer, I would leave about that much in it.
Yeah.
You know why? Because only an alcoholic would have to finish the bottle every time they drink.
Dave, do you remember me with my beers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to leave the
all the
bottom.
time.
In the 6-packs,
That's why.
in the 6-packs, I would line all 6 of them up in a box, and I
Because the winos I knew, they would do that last bit. So if I didn't do it, I wasn't drunk.
Yeah, and so I put all 6 of the empties in the cardboard after I get done, and tie it off real tight.
Yeah.
So when I throw it in the trash, it doesn't make all that clinking noise in the dump.
So
Yeah. So on that Monday, I drank that. The first time I tried to cut back that.
So she's not seeing you. There's no chance to see her.
Yeah, that's done. That's
It's
done.
over.
This is week 2 of my 3-week bender. I was like, let me try to cut down by drinking the wine, and so I did. I drank a bottle of wine, and it wasn't enough, so I went to the store and got a 6-pack. But I did the math already. I'm like, I'm just gonna drink. Yeah, I was gonna drink 2 beers. Now we're at what is that? Now we're at 6.5 beers worth of alcohol, but 2 beers and wine is it's cool.
Yeah.
Somehow
Sounds
right?
better.
And then the next day, I bought the bottle of wine, and instead of drinking 2 beers, I drank the other 4. By Wednesday, my new habit was a bottle of wine and a 6-pack.
Wow.
So my quitting looked like doubling up on the amount I used to drink. That's the alcoholic I was.
Having the experience you do, I mean, do you find many that have a drinking problem that we would call alcoholism?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find them ever regressing back to drinking less? I don't know that I know of one.
Oh no, I've never seen.
I mean,
it.
it's like what you said. It's
I've seen people switch over from beer to liquor.
Yeah.
But then they start drinking beer as chasers.
Yeah.
The term chaser,
Yeah.
that's an alcoholic term. Think about it.
Yeah, we just pissed
It's
off
an
a lot of
alcoholic
heavy
term.
drinkers.
Well, I think it's an alcoholic
Oh
term.
no! Listen, no, listen. There are so many alcoholics out there. I'm not here to call people an alcoholic. I judge nobody, and I mean it. They can be sloshed because they can be heavy drinkers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have just way too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, to do it at the degree you did,
yeah.
it's
I mean, you ever eat a ham
it's the
sandwich?
delusion of it, though, isn't it? I mean, a lot of these guys that'll get smashed, go, dude, and they will literally they'll stay away from it.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, you ever eat like a ham sandwich and eat a chicken wing as a chaser?
Yeah,
Like, that's not a freaking thing. You know, there's no such thing as a chaser. Like, we made that up, you know?
I do remember Buffalo Wild Wings on Wells Road, and I had gotten plastered there, and I was by myself, you know. But I always drank out. I never drank at the house, which was stupid.
Yeah, right.
Very fortunate.
I drank in the house only.
Yeah, and so I was at Wells, and I literally ordered the second hottest sauce they had. And I was sitting at the counter. There was only me and a couple other drunks there. It was late at night. Games were winding down. Y'all weren't out with me. And it was so hot. I just was like beer pour. I mean, it was not pretty. And then these people are like, well, you know, unless you've lived, you know, this life, what is it they say? It says alcohol will take you further than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay. And cost you more than you're willing to pay.
Oh, absolutely.
If they say sin, I put alcohol in there for me. Because you know, alcoholism, the way I understand it is, the liquid is really just a symptom. It's what is the underlying that makes me believe the delusions that I believe, right?
And that's the stuff we gotta sort out, you know.
And how the hell do you do that when you're, you know,
I find you
not
can't.
knowing how to go by the bar?
Yeah. So I do that for a week, and so one day I came home, and I set my I bought a 6-pack. I'm just done. I set my 6-pack on the coffee table, and still in my Navy uniform. I just laid back on the couch, like one foot on the floor, one foot up on the couch, and I don't remember if I believe I drank one. I started drinking one, and I sat it next to it, and I just went catatonic, or what do you call it when you just like still can't move?
Comatose.
Yeah. And so
Just sort of basically you weren't moving.
Yeah, I couldn't move a muscle. I couldn't blink. So I'm just kind of just staring like straight up.
Oh, so this was involuntary.
Yeah, I just laid back and I could not move, and it was like I was in my body, but I had no control of my body. I couldn't do anything.
That's catatonic.
So thank you. And then so I'm just staring up at the ceiling, and I remember the kids coming to like asking me what's wrong, and I couldn't respond to them. I couldn't be like, oh.
Did you hurt them and everything?
Yeah, they're touching me and everything, you know. And then the wife comes in, and I remember she said something about not going to a dark place and all that stuff. She was saying things to try to just comfort me or help me out or talk to me about, you know. And she talked for a little while, and then I watched the sunset. Because I didn't blink. I watched the sunset, and I didn't remember anything after that. And here goes that God thing again. I woke up.
The one you never asked for.
Yeah, God answered a prayer. A God I didn't believe in answered a prayer I never asked. Yeah, never prayed. And so
Never prayed.
when a God I didn't believe in answered a prayer I never prayed. When I came to, I was sitting in my uniform at the psychiatry office, the main office, not the ladies' office, the main psychiatry office in the clinic, with a clipboard in my hand. I had already filled out my name and social and date, and I was on number 3. And number 3 says, "How much do you drink?"
And you came to?
That's when I came to holding the pen at that moment. I don't know what happened between the sofa and that moment, so I don't remember driving. I remember getting up. I don't remember anything else. I just
and
remember,
you weren't necessarily drinking that morning, right?
I only had that one beer I opened and sat down. So I hadn't had a drink since the day before, really.
God moments.
Right. And so
Somebody said, "Son, come with me."
Yeah, so I for the first time in my life, because I've seen those sheets many times in my career, you know, for the first time in my life, I didn't
Just
write,
on the other side.
I didn't write 2. I actually told the truth. And then they said, you know, have you ever had any trouble at work, trouble with the law, trouble in your marriage, trouble when you know, yes, finance, you know, fights. It was yes to every single block there was. You ever been arrested because you're drinking? Yes. It was a yes to everything all the way down. And then at the bottom it said, do you want help with your alcohol problem? And for the first time, I checked yes. And I went into the psychiatrist's office. He took me back. He looked at it. He set me up with an outpatient treatment program. And
Still in the military, so it's going
Yeah.
through the military.
yeah, so this
Okay.
is October 8th, 2007, and that's my sobriety date. That was the last time I had a drink. And that's a very long answer to your question. What did the last day look like?
I freaking
That-
love it.
That's
But
that's what it looked like.
Do you call it a gift of desperation?
For me,
That didn't. It wasn't really
so
desperation.
no,
but
for me,
there's divine intervention somewhere
for
in there.
me, it's absolutely divine intervention.
I mean, because you weren't drunk and you went from there to there.
I was not.
How long away was that?
The gift of desperation was when I went in that first office
Yeah,
and finally told somebody all the stuff
Yeah.
I was dealing with,
yeah.
but I still held on to that alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, that was desperate. Me actually stepping outside of myself and saying, "Hey, stranger, can you help me?" That was desperation.
Right. So
That
you.
was divine intervention for me when I showed up that day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me. So you check yes on that. What does the military do? I mean, is it?
It's
and
case
I'm
by
not trying
case.
to. I'm not trying to destroy military because what they do and
So it's
how
case-
do you deal with an alcoholic?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's case by case. Your case depends on what your commands,
Right.
Your department.
And how will they understand the disease?
Well,
do you call
it's
it a
what-
disease?
Yes, it's how their
hate
rules are
that.
set up. Yeah, it's how their rules are set up. It's who is in charge.
Yeah.
Because if you're in charge and you're in charge, you're going to handle it different than you're. So it's very, very case by case. It depends on what I did. And so for my situation, I didn't have any history of getting in trouble and stuff for years, And I was volunteering, asking for help, and I was honest. And so this is somebody that they can help.
Yeah.
This is somebody where they can say, well, we'll send you to this program. You just keep showing up at that job, and you go through this program. And
So it was
we'll see what-
outpatient.
So this was another outpatient
Okay.
treatment program.
Your third.
Second actually,
Second,
because I worked at one, then I went
gotcha.
through one, and then
You worked
going.
before you went.
Yeah. Well, I worked. I went while I was working there.
Come on.
And my alcohol related incident was, and I had to hide the DUI.
I missed that.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention it. I was trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got the DUI while I was there, but my alcohol, my actual, the reason I ended up on restriction and all that, I came to work smelling like alcohol,
Yeah. Right.
and I was pissed off, and it made me breathalyze and everything, and a breathalyzer was blinking 0.0, what was 0.01, and then the one kept turning back into a 0,
Right.
but that one flickering was enough for them to say I smell like alcohol. And 13 months later, they sent me to the program, and I was pissed off because I knew the rules.
Right.
The rule is within 12-month period, do you have these things? And it's 13 months, so I was mad at. So it took me 3 weeks to go through the 2-week program because I fought it. I just BS'd, and I drank the whole time I was in it.
How'd you get alcohol in there?
Because it was so.
Oh, it was outpatient. Sorry.
Well,
okay,
it was an inpatient program.
Oh, so it was inpatient.
Yeah, but I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
So the facility where we sit down and go through the meetings and all that and the counseling and so forth is a separate building from the barracks, which most are set up that way. But these barracks are just barracks. They don't have, this is not a facility like where I work where we actually sat at the front desk.
Right.
And if somebody walks out, we just ask them where, we tell them they're not supposed to leave. If they want to leave anyway, we ask them where they're going. If they tell us or not, and we just log it in.
Right.
We're not cops. We just
Right.
log in that they
They can
left
come
on
and
the
go.
ship.
Right.
Yeah. And then they have to deal with
Yeah.
the fact that they left and when they came back.
Warrants or whatever if there's
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So but this place didn't even have that. It was just, they just kept us over there. And I wasn't a bad alcoholic.
Yeah.
I didn't have a big problem.
Yeah.
So they could, and so after day one, I checked it out. And I needed day one. This is that chameleon, that alcoholic, that too smart for my own good.
Yeah.
I needed that first day to see if like how it worked. And so when I found out what time I have to be there the next day, I do my alcohol math. I need to quit drinking at this time so I don't smell like alcohol when I show up. And so that's what I did. That's when I first learned how to drink like that. I learned how to drink like that in an alcohol program.
Necessity is the greatest form of
Yeah.
invention,
Yeah, and I went 3 weeks straight through a 2-week program, drinking every day except that first day.
even for an alcoholic.
Yeah. So I
Wow.
worked at one, went to one, and went to another one. So I went twice and worked at one.
So 2010, right? You got sober.
Well, I got sober in October 2007.
Sorry, 2007 October. So 2007. So you got 10 more years in the military. Sober.
Because I got her in 2015. So 8 years.
Was early
8 years
sobriety
sober.
tough?
Extremely.
Yeah. How did you get through it?
So what worked for me in that program, a part of the program was they send you to AA meetings.
Yeah.
And I knew about AA meetings because I
Yeah.
used to bring the patients to AA meetings.
Right.
And while they were in there, I'll go give me something to drink.
Right.
And then I'll drive the patients back after the AA meetings
Not
with my
here one-
6-pack in the van.
Oh my.
Yeah, I was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Well, was.
Yeah.
You know? And so
Do you classify yourself as recovered?
oh, you mean like
the great.
In Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a thing where some people say they're recovered, ED, and some people say they're recovering.
And they will argue.
Yeah, I don't use either one. I believe I'm recovered from the desire to drink.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, God took that away from me.
Yeah.
I say God took it away because no person did it, and I know I didn't have the power to do it. So if no person did it and I don't have the power to do it, something outside of me did it. Something with a power greater than my desire to drink is the only thing that could remove my desire to drink.
And did you know that the day of?
No. So when
I did bounce a little bit. So I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna get you back to your sobriety date. So you get in. Are you in AA? I mean, since you brought up AA.
So the intensive outpatient treatment program, they make, you go through the little group counseling,
Right.
individual counseling, and you got to go to
figure out how much money you wasted, all that stuff.
They do a budget because
all the boxes you check.
Because the budget is why I drink. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Right.
You ever see I've never seen a crackhead with a budget.
No, no.
No. So
That's awesome.
So they send me these AA meetings, and right away, like the first time I went, that was the first intensive outpatient treatment. I was introduced to AA, and that's the time I actually went in, not when I was bringing the
Right.
patients. And when I went in there that first time, it was a bunch of like old white men with beards who drink too much coffee and smoke. And the only thing I had in common with them is that I smoked.
Right.
I didn't drink coffee. I didn't have a beard. I wasn't
Are you
white.
white?
I wasn't old.
Right.
I didn't lose my wife and my job.
Right.
And what was the wife, the
The
job,
old country
the money.
song.
Yeah, I didn't, none of that stuff. And so this second time when I went, so I just wasn't even. So
Yeah.
I checked the boxes.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen in other meetings.
Yeah.
And I was that guy. I checked the boxes and went on to almost drink myself to death many times after. Right.
Yeah.
But this second time I went in. I went in hoping that something could help me. So, because right now I'm asking for help. Like I'm hoping that I walked in hoping that AA was going to work. I walked in hoping that psychiatry would work.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I just hoped that it worked. And I wasn't trying to buy off on a God thing.
Right.
Too smart for that.
Right. So you still weren't into the God thing?
No, it did no.
Coming into AA?
No, not. I don't care if he intervened in my life divinely 100 times over.
Yeah.
That was my luck. That was my. I didn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, glad I made the decision to get off the sofa and drive to,
Yeah.
like I did it,
And yet it was still working some way.
Yeah, glad I fixed my car back in Houston and drove, and earned that $40.
Yeah.
And so I started going to AA meetings and
In Jacksonville?
no, this is where am
Are
I?
you back
This is in Virginia. This is my recovery now. This is
Okay,
when I
2007 on.
get off the crazy roller coaster. Yeah. So I go to AA meetings and now I'm actually listening. And
Have you lost your wife? Are they?
Yes.
Okay, so all that's gone.
I left. Yeah.
You
I
left.
Yeah. And
So
so
it's their fault, so you're getting out.
yeah. Well, there was a lot going on, but
Right.
so one day I was going to these meetings and I still was just hoping it worked. I didn't have a sponsor. I wasn't trying to work steps.
Right.
The book was stupid, and I don't read books.
Right.
I'm too smart.
Right.
I read a book.
Let's listen a little bit. And I'll get the cliff notes out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so so I'm ignoring how I'm ignoring it. And so I'm going to a meeting one day. Now I got my church glow on now. I got my book and I'm all cleaned up. Now I'm not going to church.
You're
but that's
looking
what I
good
feel.
because you're not drinking, so you do get
Yeah. So I'm running late, and I left my book. So I ran back to the car to get my book, And when I went, or a truck, and when I went to open the door, I caught a glimpse of myself, my reflection of myself. I was 10 years older. I had a scruffy little beard. I lost my wife. I was sleeping in my truck because that's how I left. I almost lost my job. That's why I was in it. All this stuff,
moment of clarity.
all this stuff I judged them about those years back, I
Yeah.
became that. I became all those things. And I even changed my mind about white people. So I was almost white too, I guess. You know? And so here I was judging these people
Yeah.
just because I just didn't look like them and
Yeah.
made all these assumptions about them, you know.
Yeah.
And here I was, like I was one of them.
Yeah.
And when I found out what an alcoholic was, I realized I was one of those too. Yeah.
And so you retire from the military. Do you have a sponsor by then and all that? Are you still active in the sobriety world?
So I ended up going to Japan very shortly after, like 4 months after I left my family because we had separated.
Right.
And so in Japan, that's a story. I've shared that story with you.
I have
back to
heard
you.
this one. Yes.
So I'll just share it real quick.
No, please do, because they have not. So
yeah.
share it. Yeah.
So when I got to Japan, there was no AA there. It was,
Right.
it was Sasebo, Japan. It was a small
Because this
place.
is fascinating. So go ahead.
Yeah, it gives a test, like it attests to the program. They talk in AA. They talk about not putting AA into the press and so forth. And I get it. I understand the history of AA. I understand why people weren't supposed to be running around shouting about it.
Right.
But what I do share is my experience, just my experience with it. I'm not trying to sell it as a cure for anybody.
Well, and the other
I'm just
thing,
sharing my experience with it. Yeah.
and before you get back onto that, because the other thing that I like to say about that is, even if I go out and get drunk, research where I am from now until then and see if I'm really applying the principles.
Yeah.
Don't blame it on AA.
Right.
I just quit applying the principles that I found worked and for me.
I've seen people call AA a cult.
Yeah.
I've never seen a cult where they say, "Come if you want to, or
Yeah.
not. Pick
Yeah,
a sponsor.
come as you are."
Yeah, pick a sponsor or not. Leave $1 or not.
Yeah. We don't.
Well,
There's no one.
Who's God? Well, whoever you pick.
Yeah. It could be the chair.
So
They literally.
if-
I've heard people say, "Listen, you
if
can
that's
just
if that's a cult, then okay, you know.
sign me up."
And so when I got to Japan, there was no AA, and that was the one thing I thought was working for me, because that even though I wasn't really doing it, going to those meetings gave me that hope. That hope
2009, 2010.
this is still 08, because this is
08.
just January.
So you're like
I'm
still early
I'm
sobriety.
like 4 months sober.
4 months sober. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like I need AA. That's the only thing that's working.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it on this
Yeah.
in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sake here. I never even tasted that. You know, and then there's vending machines with liquor in it, and,
Yeah.
they talk to you and they're friendly.
Yeah, my son's in Singapore right now.
Yeah, and everything's got a smiley face, and when you go into bars, there's habu sake, or there's a snake in a jar. Like I'd try it, you know.
Yeah.
So there was no way I was gonna survive that. As 4 months sober with no program, and so I asked around, and then finally I went to back to medical, and I said, "Listen, I need AA." So I've been all over, couldn't find anybody doing it. So what I'm gonna do is every day I get off at 4:00. So every day from 4:00 to 6:00, I'm gonna sit in a smoking area right next to the Navy Exchange, and if anybody comes here looking for an AA meeting, you let me know. And I told medical that, I told the ships that. I told the family
You were
service.
serious.
I told the family service center that. And so my first 2 months of sobriety there was me sitting there from 4 to 6 every day at that smoking deck, 7 days a week. I would leave my house and go sit there on the weekends.
Were you gaining things on your own, doing it on your own until anybody else came, or were you?
There was no it, because I didn't have a book. I didn't have anything.
You weren't reading a book or nothing. You were just sitting there
smoking cigarettes and smoking Black and Milds.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
You're just waiting for somebody to come.
yeah. And so
I don't know if I'd have gotten sober.
So what was keeping me sober is you hear me keep saying hope, right?
Yeah.
And of course I'm still not giving God the credit God deserves.
Yeah.
So hope, the hope was, if someone shows up, then I can't be drunk. And so after 6:00, I walk right
Going
across.
from not caring about anybody to all of a sudden you're here and you're not even in the program. You're in it, but
And how does that happen for
Yeah.
a self-serving, self-centered alcoholic? So when you talked about gift of desperation, you can maybe classify that. I was
Yeah.
desperate for a program.
Sitting
But-
there 7 hours a
Yeah,
day,
but it's
that's pretty desperate.
Well, it was 2 hours a day, but 7 days a
Oh,
week.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
2 hours. Okay.
Yeah, so I sat there for 2 months like that, and after work, I would just go and rent a movie, like rent DVDs, 3 or 4 of them, and I'd race home so I don't stop at a liquor store.
Did you know about the big book?
Nope. Well, I knew about it in
Right,
AA, but
right.
I never cracked it open.
Right, gotcha.
And I'd race home and I watched those movies till I fell asleep. There's a lot of not sleeping when I first quit drinking, and
Yeah.
and so 2 months into it, the way I tell a story, these two guys show up. One had coins in his hand and one had a book, and there's a light around them, and they show up. And it was Jeremy and Clint. That's the only two names I'll use. Jeremy and Clint. And they show up and they're like, "We are some idiots here looking for a meeting." And I'm like, that's me.
Never met them or anything.
So when they didn't have the books and the
Yeah.
coins in their hand, but what they told me
Yeah.
is that they have books and coins and they have the literature, they have everything. They just didn't have anyone else,
Right.
And I was like, well, let's do it, So we got the chapel, got a room in there. We set up a meeting schedule, and the three of us. Clint had about I might be it's a long time
Right.
ago. But
Right.
Clint had maybe like a year or so, maybe a little more. Jeremy had like 9 months. I might be getting this stuff wrong, but we
Yeah.
were all very young in the program. And I had 6 months total, and not even really in AA.
Right.
And so the three of us, and this is again, I'm not trying to sell that program to anybody. I'm sure I'm just sharing my experience with that program. The three of us, not knowing anything else other than the little bit they got, the little bit I got from whoever in passing. The three of us got there with that book, and all we did was read the book and did what the book said. And part of it is getting a sponsor. The book doesn't talk specifically about getting a
No.
sponsor, but the way the program
Talking
worked-
to another man
yeah,
and
right,
that kind
another
of thing.
alcoholic.
Right,
So
exactly.
so we sponsored one another.
Yeah.
I was this person's
That is
sponsor,
amazing.
and this person's sponsee, and we were each other's sponsor.
And really,
sponsee.
what's sponsoring and sponsoring, it's just two men sharing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not hiding anything.
Right.
Because my darkest secrets, and this isn't just AA. How many times have you heard this in life? You're only as sick as your darkest secrets.
Right.
And that's really, I think, what this program does a lot is that it gives me a path to shine lights on what I need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And in chasing that, I get addicted to it because I have addicted personality. Business, there's 50 wood Jews and I'm running all over the place, having a blast 70 hours a week. To me, it's not work. I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
And then when that went away, that's when 33 is when I first really started drinking hard.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a beer sipper and, look at them idiots and go, look at those idiots. And I became that idiot.
That was me. I would drink just my little 6-pack and way more on the weekends, and then point at other people and say they had a problem.
Yep.
But I couldn't stop drinking.
I went 3.5 years without drinking because I had a guy, Bill, I don't mind sharing his name, love him to death, Bill Spiegel, asked me, he said, you think you might be an alcoholic? He's the first guy ever asked me. I was like, now he'd travel all around me. So he'd see me in Memphis, jumping off trains, in Denver, downtown. You think you got some stories. He's got, bless his heart. He was such a good man, still is. But he asked me that, and I was like, well, and then I went home and talked to my wife. I said, well, if I'm alcoholic, I can't set it down, right? And she knows nothing about alcohol. She thinks what we think, the guy of the wino in the corner, I had successful businesses. And so I set it down I told her I would do it for 4 years. Should have told me I was an alcoholic.
Right.
Because I went 3.5. And I remember I was in Orlando when I bought my first 6-pack because I traveled, 300 days a year. So mine, like yours, I didn't stay in one spot, but 2-3 days. And I had my places. They loved me. I tipped well. That's how I met him. And they just let me do my thing, and keep me from falling off bar stools. So which is a literal thing for him back in the day.
That's cool.
Yeah, he actually managed bars.
Okay.
That's why I would get to know I got to know the bar managers and the owners.
So you could get that free ticket?
Well, yeah, because after 2:00, everybody quit drinking, and I was just getting started, man.
Yeah.
So then he became my wild passenger.
And see, for me, I they talk about self-knowledge in that program too. And for me, if I could just understand it, then I can control it.
If I can just get
So-
the why, then it's going to make sense, and I can.
like what is it? David Banner,
Yeah.
the Incredible Hulk searching for the
Yeah.
cure. Like if I could just find the
Yes.
cure, then I can fix myself.
And we try many things, and the big book does talk about it.
And so what worked for me was talking to another recovering alcoholic. If a person's an active alcoholic, they don't have an answer. If a person is not an alcoholic, they don't have an answer. But a recovering alcoholic has an answer because they know what it was like to drink and not be able to stop, and then they learned how to not drink.
Do you call yourself a grateful alcoholic? Do you like that term? You know what I'm talking about,
I
right?
call myself that in my head, but never out loud. And the reason I call myself
And
that
explain
out loud,
why they say grateful, just because for the non-alcoholics.
So sometimes, specifically at AA meetings, people say, "Oh, my name is whatever," and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. And when I was younger,
I used to look at them idiots and go, "What?
exactly. I'm like, "How you?
You're an idiot,
Like you must not be a real
right?
alcoholic.
You
Like,
ain't one of me.
You clearly, if
You
you've been-
you didn't have tragedy."
right." And so what I learned was, for me, a grateful alcoholic is a person that acknowledges that they could have died an alcoholic death.
Yeah.
Just like that lady told me all those years ago,
Yep.
that if I kept drinking, I would die an alcoholic death. I found that to be true way later when I look back at all the health issues I survived, the situations I survived,
And the patients you've seen,
right, watching people actually die from this disease.
people that are trying to get a kidney, but they can't stop drinking. All they can do is stop drinking to get on the list.
And in the military and as an EMT, I watched how people under the influence hurt themselves and others. So, hurt and worse,
Yeah.
my little 1 day in jail, I'm not gonna ever say I've been to jail. I spent one night in jail, I went there in the evening, saw the judge the next evening and was gone.
Did they get that booty?
No.
Okay, you good
No.
then.
I got a funny story though.
Yeah, oh yeah. Go with it.
No, I was I knew how jail worked because I watched.
Oh, yeah.
Because I watched TV.
Oh yeah.
So I know.
And
how
you're
jail,
a man too.
I watched TV, so I know how jail works.
Sure.
Because TV.
Yeah.
Right? And so
It's accurate.
So but I was in junior high, so I know how jail works. No, for real.
Okay.
if you've been in junior high, you know how jail works.
That is true.
I'll debate with you, and if you have. And so I know not to say anything to anybody. I know I was gonna be a short time. I'm not trying to make friends with nobody,
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and then there's a TV up there, and I'm sitting there just watching TV, and then some guy just walked up and sat behind me. I'm like, here we go.
Yep.
Now I have to fight. Because somebody sat behind me, so I got to fight now because somebody just sat.
Your whole mind goes to worst.
Because the TV said. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, and so I lean forward like
Right,
I'm just,
getting hard.
But yeah, I lean like this, I don't do this, I'm like, lean forward,
That is awesome.
I'm 140 pounds. By the
Yeah,
way.
that's all right.
And then and I felt some air on my ear.
No.
I'm like, is this blowing on my ear? And then I just I do this. I'm like, and then I feel it again. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, do I confront him? Do I turn around and just swing on him? Do I like, because
Figuring out the rules.
because I'm not into that,
Right.
right? And then I hear behind me like loud, and I kind of jump, but not a lot, because I'm not scared,
Right. Exactly. You
right?
got to keep that rep.
And I did that, and I looked back, and it was a guy smacked that guy, and said, "I know you ain't flirting with that in my foot," And he's like, "No," and then he like get, and then they walked away, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be here."
Yeah. This ain't for me.
Yeah, and I was so that's the answer to your question. No, it didn't happen, but it was so close, right?
Yeah.
But what I learned from it that one day, that one overnight in jail, I learned that that's a waste of life.
Yeah.
And I don't care what happens, what you're scared of, what you're brave about, how the time goes when you're in there. I just feel like it's such a waste of life to be in the environment.
My brother did 4.5 years.
And that's what, and I don't ever intend on going to jail ever.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a waste. Whatever the decision was I made to get there, I need to avoid those decisions because it's such a waste. It's such a waste.
So how do you keep not just this sobriety, because that's AA that you spoke of, but I mean, does it get bigger than just the room? And
absolutely, for me, absolutely. My
like now, where do you take it now? How do you expand past? You know, I mean, are you still involved in the program to some degree? Or?
Yeah, so I was doing it. I was heavy in it. You know, 3 years in Japan. I was 7 days a week. We'd meet in the morning. We'd meet for coffee and lunch. We'd run into each other. We'd have a real meeting with other people, and you know, the meeting actually
started growing.
Yeah, we made it official. We got it's still official. It's still running. We helped start it in Japan at a Japanese hospital. Yeah. And then we meet again after meetings for coffee for 3 or 4 hours, and on the weekends we hang out with each other. So that's what my AA program looked like
for the first
3 years.
So 3 solid years.
For my next 5 years, when I left there, I got stationed in Pensacola. I was a drug and alcohol program advisor. So my career became my in AA. The 12th step of AA, part of it is helping other alcoholics.
Reaching out to the next.
And so for me, I was doing 12-step work. And that's where the ego came in. The ego is like, you know, I finished. So now I can help. So I thought that, I thought that's what it was. Is you're supposed to, you know, after you get your certificate, there's no certificate.
Right, exactly.
you know,
I wish.
After you finish the 12, then you're
finish
up here.
The 12.
You're AA alumni.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But and this is what I thought. It's nothing. It's nothing. The program's nothing like that.
Nothing like it. But
that's
many
what I thought.
think it.
Yeah. And so and I'm sober. I got all these years on my belt. I'm helping other people. I don't need God anymore.
Yeah.
Again, still didn't learn. Still didn't learn. And so,
did you consciously know you were doing that?
No, I just didn't need.
Gradualism.
I needed God to save me, but if I didn't need saving, I didn't need God.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
You know. And so,
and was God still only found in AA for you?
God was a requirement for me to get through the 12 steps.
Got it.
So I acknowledge that.
Yeah, because they got it up there like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I acknowledge that there must be a God to get through. So I
came to believe that there was a God.
Yeah.
No, power grader.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I retired, and then there's this 6 or 7 or 8 years of not drinking, and not being in a program, and not having a sponsor.
Yeah.
And the desire to drink never came back. So I didn't. Alcoholism was behind me as far as I know, you know.
Right.
And so it took me for everything to fall apart in my life. For my life, one day I woke up, and I realized that my life looked just like when I was drinking, just without the bottle in my hand, all over again.
They say what do they say? Alcohol is a solution at times.
Yeah, we think it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I got to this point. I was 14 and a half years sober, and I went on a cruise. Me and a friend of mine, we go on a cruise, and as soon as you walk onto the boat, it's a 7-day cruise.
Yeah.
And as soon as you walk on the boat, they hand you the big sparkly drinks,
Right.
with the cup, you know, and in that, and when they were like trying to hand it to us, in my mind I said, well, I could have just one. I can drink the whole 7 days while I'm on a cruise, but dang, how am I going to stop when I get off the cruise? That's when I knew I was still an alcoholic. So 14 years not drinking, and the idea of drinking one didn't even have a stopping point in my head. To take that one drink, I knew for certainty that I would not be able to stop after 14 and a half years. So I've had people ask me like, "Oh, how you know you're still alcoholic if you didn't drink so long?"
Right.
That's how I know.
Right.
Because I still don't have a stopping point in my head.
Right.
There is no stop. There's no enough button. Once I start drinking, there's no valid reason for me to stop. Working was the only thing that stopped me from drinking 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I don't have a job anymore. I'd be done. And there's a lot of veterans that die of alcohol poison, alcoholism, because they don't have the job anymore. They get they're in a check 'em up club.
And the PTSD too, right?
Absolutely.
Now, do you deal with that as well?
Yep.
Talk a
It's-
little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, just to wrap up your question. So what my sobriety looks like now is actually that's a good segue to it. So
Yeah, because it can lead into
it is absolutely. So I ended up going back to AA, and that's when I realized I got there, I needed it, and that's where I found a more healthy relationship with God. And I've been actively participating.
Is it the God of your childhood?
No, that's a really good question. It's not.
I like it when you say that to me because you're really smart. So if you say it, Dave, I'm I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, but it's no, it's not. It's not the God of that's not
Me
the one.
neither.
Because but it's a different relationship. I found with
What do you think? I don't want specifics. This is going to be a fun little exercise.
Yeah.
Don't put a specific, like I gave this to get that. But what do you think is the difference? Like if you had to put a word or two, and this is a tough little exercise, of the difference of the God of your childhood and the God of your understanding today.
the God of my childhood, I was taught. The God of my today, I learned.
Oh, I read that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I learned. I learned through experience.
Yep. And through often others, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
If you're smart enough to learn from others, I wasn't smart enough to learn from others.
No, School of Hard Knocks.
I was over here smart.
Yeah.
I wasn't the regular. Just listen to people smart.
So as you get sober, does life immediately just take off and everything falls back? Mama comes back home and
no. At first, everything seems great because my understanding starts spreading out because I'm not thinking about just me anymore.
yeah.
And so now I can actually kind of put myself in other people's shoes every now and then.
Is it still odd
And
that
so-
you're not selfish like you had been?
Well, not anymore, but it's because of that relationship I established. I found that a relationship with God, a relationship takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time to develop. It takes compromise. It takes misunderstandings.
Yep.
You know, sometimes I think it's God and it's not, it's me. And sometimes I think it's me, but it's God, you know. So it's a misunderstanding.
How do you hear him? Well, I mean,
Like
listen,
everybody gets it different.
yeah. I mean, because sometimes it's in my wife's voice.
So I always had this God in the background, running in the background, right? When I would try to speak to God, I would and I found looking back at a lot of things I wrote that God was on my mind the whole time. I just wasn't acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And so I would always God had me on a one-word diet. God just told me to stop. Whatever I was doing, it was stop. That's the only word I would hear from God. Well, as I grew in my relationship with God,
There are more words.
I would hear slow down. I would hear go ahead.
Do you count
and-
it as physical
and so-
sound?
No, it's just
It's just
like
a mental.
knowing. It's
yeah,
a knowing.
yeah.
Yeah. I call it hearing to keep it
Yeah,
simple.
because
but
sometimes you can hear it, although it's in the brain.
Yeah.
It takes a voice sometimes.
it's like if we stop talking,
Yeah.
the voice you hear is not a real voice you hear. You're just remembering
Right.
the sound. So
Right.
it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So we're not
It's-
cuckoo.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not.
But intuition works. Even those that aren't
Yeah, yeah.
alcoholic, they have
So-
those thoughts in their head.
Yeah,
Stop.
And for me, it's got So when I would talk, I would hear stop, then I would hear like slow down and go ahead and right there and do this. It was like the really
Yeah.
short, just direct commands.
Yeah.
And the more I learned and grew, it expanded to ideas and to full on task.
Yeah.
And then it expanded to understanding my dreams. I'm a lucid dreamer now. It turned into understanding my dreams and the symbolism. It doesn't have to be correct. It's just that I know that that's what it means.
Now
according to my God.
prophesying kind of dreams.
I have those too, but I think this is my opinion. I believe
It's your story.
Yeah, it's people. I believe some of us are well connected to the past. That's those historians and some philosophers and so forth. They're well connected to the past and they understand the past, whether it's bad or good. They're drawn to understanding it. I believe some of us that's the people with heart, with the emotion, with feeling. Those people that we call sensitive, or too,
Right.
They're connected to the present, to the now, and they're in the now. And then I believe some of us are more connected with the idea of the future. And I just feel like I'm more connected with the idea of the future. So I have a difficult time with understanding history.
Yeah.
and I have a difficult time with emotions in the present. But I have a tried and true understanding of future and potential futures. You know,
So like just you naturally, or the human race and
I just think
socially,
I think all people.
you sort of see where it's going and where it can
Yeah.
be, and
Oh yeah.
ways to move in it,
Yeah,
and that
some-
kind of stuff.
yeah, some
It's
things
not
is-
like you're prophesying, okay, on October 9th, there's
No.
going to be a star
No.
falling, and
No,
Yeah.
it's more complicated than that. But I can
okay, there's going to be a part 2 to this.
yeah, I can tell you some stuff.
No,
yeah.
and that's, I mean,
But yeah,
yeah, that's intriguing to me.
yeah. So
Keep going.
Oh, so with the because we left off on grateful
Oh, yeah.
alcoholic and went to
Oh yeah.
yeah. So for me, a grateful alcoholic is somebody. For me, I'm a grateful alcoholic because I'm grateful for what I've been through. Because there's no way possible I can do what I now believe God would have for my life, and my purpose. I'm actually clear on my purpose in life. You know?
I don't call myself that, but in my head, I am, because I feel sorry for those that don't have a program to get to a spiritual understanding of a God that I understand, that I learn to love and grow and have a personal relationship with. Some very normies get it in the Bible and sit in church, and in 2 minutes that, I have a sister that's just godly as can be. And for me, it just took pre-K to the Bible.
Yeah, and see that program, what you call a program, like how AA has it set up. That 12-step program, the steps are principles, and we learn principles from our uncle and our mom and our dad and our cousin, and we learn our principles from the Bible.
Yep.
And we learn principles from the culture,
And they tie in.
Yeah, and so so the AA principles, I haven't seen them conflict with anybody's religion. I've seen them conflict with like the street principles,
Right.
Right. But they don't conflict with anything that people would call a principle, like the religion or and so forth. And so that if I hadn't been an active drinking alcoholic and went through all the stuff I went through, there's no way I would have the relationship with God that I have now. It's just not possible.
We definitely are going to have a part 2, because there's other segments. But I want to talk a little bit about, you are working on some things.
Yes.
And I want to give you about 5-10 minutes, or however long it goes, to talk a little bit about where all this has taken you. I mean, you're retired, but obviously you're still.
I try
you want to find something to do in life. So where are you right now? What are you doing?
And that's a perfect question, because you asked me, what comes after the
Exactly.
The steps. Yeah. So I was always wondering what comes after the 12 steps. I need to know what comes next.
Right.
And what I found came next.
And you're not leaving that behind. It's just now, how do I add on and build the foundation of.
Right. Yeah. And so for me, what came next was the results of living those principles. And those results meant much better relationships, better finance, better health, better. I always divided into mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial.
Yep.
And I'm much better in those places. I still have places that need work, but I'm much, 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 much better in those places. And I continue to grow in those places. And so what it looks like now is, and what I'm doing now is, the easiest way to sum it up, I would say, is I empower others by sharing how I overcame obstacles and my relationship with a higher power. And I'm willing to travel any distance to do it. And all I pray from God for is the resources to do it, and the resources and the willingness to do it.
Almost like a 12-step intervention kind of a thing.
Yeah, but it's bigger, like you said, bigger. It's bigger because, see, I overcame a divorce, bankruptcy, smoking, caffeine, sugar, freaking COPD.
So you get your idea.
Yellow jaundice, strokes. I've had all these things that I had to overcome, and the answer is always the same. The answer is always the same when I overcome these things. Everything we call trauma, it's the same. Any trauma, whether it's like an accident or an assault of some sort, or any trauma, all trauma, it comes down to two words. It's something you didn't expect, and it's a place where you felt powerless in. All traumas have expectation and powerlessness. When we figure out how to address our expectations and how to address powerlessness, we can solve anything. We can overcome anything.
That's good.
Like anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And so how do you do it? Well, the way I did it is I had to ask for help because I couldn't do it. And so who do you ask for help? You just keep freaking asking until you get it, the same way I got sober.
Yeah.
I had to keep asking until I got it.
Do you see this setting up as a business for you? Potentially?
No, because what I believe is if I do what is in God's purpose for me, money's not a thing to worry about.
Right.
It's just not.
Right.
You know, I mean, because I'm only gonna go where God would have me go. I'm only gonna do what God would have me do. And I already prayed for the resources to do it. So I'm gonna do keep asking.
What do you know?
What I'm gonna do, turn around and start trying to make a bunch of money? That's not what God told me to do. God told me to use my experiences to help other people.
Have you thought about speaking on larger stages and things of that nature?
So I used to want to be a motivational speaker, but I didn't have a speech.
Okay.
And then one day I was sitting around and I was like, how do you become a motivational speaker? You just say, fuck it, I'm a motivational speaker.
That's exactly
so
right.
Every time I talk, I motivate people to better themselves, to get over obstacles.
Well, you and
So
I...
I'm always a motivational speaker because every time I talk, when I walk into a room, I don't care where I am and what I'm doing. When I walk into a room, I always look for a way to add value to that room. Period.
And do you think AA taught you that, or is it instilled before?
I think AA is a piece, just like everything else in my life is a piece. I just didn't know how to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
The difference now is I stopped asking how to put the pieces together. I just do what I'm supposed to do today and don't worry about the rest. I don't worry about it.
That's not your side of the street.
I say it all the time. If God told me exactly what to do, then I would do it.
Why would I need him?
Yeah, I would do it twice today or not till tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
But I'm not going to do it how you so I when in the morning when I pray, I don't pray for if somebody's like, "Oh, pray for my cousin they're in the hospital."
I don't either.
I pray for God's will in that person's cousin's life.
Yeah.
Because God might want him to be sick. I don't know. He might be busy doing something with them.
Yeah.
You know?
And we don't know what's going on with him or who he is.
So I pray for God's will in my life.
Yeah. He knows what is needed.
Yeah, and that's it. And when I pray for God's will in my life, and this is where I am now. Yes, where I am now.
Yeah.
This has not always been that way.
Yeah.
When I pray for God's will in my life, I know when I'm outside of it. I know when I'm outside of it.
Feeling or just
the minute? No, it's a knowing. It's a and like you know not to just walk up to a stranger and just kick him, right? You just know. You just know. There's no feeling. You just know, right? That's how I know with God now. So
that's a deep connection,
right? And it comes with practice and practice, and it comes with miscommunication.
Yeah,
it comes with time. That's what developing a healthy relationship is.
I think the best thing you guys ever gave me was I was allowed to be as miserable as I like for as long as I like.
That's the best thing you ever gave me.
Me?
You gave me that, because when you say that, you gave me that, because now when I'm dealing with something, and I find myself frustrated for longer than I need to be, because like I said, I deal with other things.
Yeah.
I think about that.
Yeah. That came from David Cottingham.
I got it from him then, but I heard you say it, and I'm like, how long am I going to be upset about this thing? Yeah. And then bam, is this in my control or not? It's not in my control. Okay, well, I'm done.
And what's so crazy is then we hear that philosophy, and then I hear somebody who has nothing to do with the program, and they're talking about don't let things in your upper chamber. And it's all spiritually based. And if we follow the basic principles, it eliminates stuff we don't even understand scientifically. Well, you might more having your degrees.
When my sponsor challenged me to talk to God, and I hadn't done that in forever. So I went 3 days and just couldn't do it. And so I finally was like, on the third day, I was like, I don't understand you. That's what I said. And immediately what I got back was, you don't understand yourself. So how can you understand me?
I love those answers.
And then so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm done with the program now, so I'm ready for my spiritual awakening. And so I prayed for a spiritual awakening.
Yeah. And
then I went to sleep, and I woke up, and God said, "Good morning. It's your spiritual awakening." And I said, "Ha ha, very funny."
Yeah.
And what God said, and I said, but we talked about that.
Yeah.
What God said
This
to me,
ain't something light.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, no.
so
yeah.
what God said, and God said, like the Bible says,
Yeah.
right? And God said to me, you are a spirit, and everything you experience is a spiritual experience. All of it.
Which makes every little detail
so,
important.
So now think about that for a second. We out here looking for God all the time. We're looking for God to show up. We're looking for God to be in this thing or that thing or whatever. It's all a spiritual experience. That means it's all God, all of it. It's just for us to just be aware of it, just acknowledge it, just do whatever God wants us to do with these fingers and toes that we're kicking around in this planet.
Yeah. Taj Herbert, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
What a awesome time getting to know you a little bit more. This will touch people. As this channel grows, eventually there will be people that watch this. I do want to say one thing to those that are not alcoholics that may have them in their families. Mm-hmm. If you try to replay what Mr. Taj has shared and try to figure out how to implement it to your loved ones, it will be a freaking train wreck. Mm-hmm. If you want to do anything, you drop them off in AA and say, go find another dude or another girl, like-minded genders. And there are lesbian and gay and transgender meetings as well. Mm-hmm. I go to them all because I just want the message. I don't care where it comes from.
And I was going to say, just to add to exactly what you just said, that AA meeting, that church, that hospital, somewhere that can help, because that's accepting that you can't.
And the Bible says,
you can't. It turning them over to someone else.
Yeah.
Is the same thing alcoholics have to do, turn their problem over to a higher power. You have to turn that family member over to a higher power. That hospital, that church, that AA meeting, you have to turn it over to somebody who can do it.
And I'll start ending with this. Here's the funny thing is it takes faith. And I'm always interested in believers, and I know them to be believers. And I'm not picking out anybody. There's nobody in my head. I'm just talking about in general, a big swooping brush. But I am amazed that people I run into that are believers that have no faith. Mm-hmm. They have to try to control things. And where we grew up, I'm like, that's not my side of the street. Right. I've had David, what are we doing? I don't know. I mean, we've been in some tight spots financially here as we were growing, me trying to get a building. I mean, you're throwing a lot of money at stuff and this, that, and the other. I had plans, but none of them were concrete because you guys taught me, that's not my part. My part is to be prepared and then to live with the results. Mm-hmm. And I see you do that. The story you have shared today, it was really interesting because all that you went through and learned and the acceptance and all that, I was that same guy, but I was never able to get out front and be the leader. Mm-hmm. And it used to piss me off. Mm-hmm. And now I realize what my job is. Mm-hmm. And it's, I always thought I was going to be great, but in reality, my job was to raise my children. They were the ones that are going to take it to the next level. And what do you know, my son's playing and doing, and it's baseball and everything, because his life's going to go on in a couple of years, but it's opened doors for bigger opportunities. And, none of that came from this brain.
Right.
It came from men like you teaching it to me.
Right. My ego had to on this because I had a huge ego. You hear me touch on it several times.
Yeah.
One of the things I have to realize is that there's like a washing machine and a watch, for example. Yep. A watch's job is just to tell time. Is not to wash clothes. Is not to drive on the street or fly in the air. It's just to be a watch. And that washing machine's job is just to wash clothes. It's not to do anything. You know what I mean? And so once we accept that God's purpose might not have us being what someone else would consider great or what someone else would consider hugely successful.
Because even the God you're mentioning isn't necessarily out of the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's going to be part of our next conversation.
And so just last thing I want to say real quick.
Oh, you got time, yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned what I'm working on now. So right now, literally now, I just started a couple of days ago and I should be able to wrap it up this week. I don't know when I'm going to put it out, but it'll be very soon. I'm working I've been writing the whole time, like throughout my life. Well, I actually have a book published, but
okay.
So I've been writing poetry all my life, like from basically I have some stuff I'm going to share from like 93 to 2007, and it's going to capture my spiritual journey. So while I did touch on it
Sure.
here, it's going to be the details with the emotion,
Right.
with the stories. All condensed.
Do you have a place to read it and to record? If not, you can use this.
Well, what I have right now is I have something set up at home.
Okay.
But after I've done it,
Yeah.
I was going to actually take you up on the offer.
Absolutely. This is free, all for you all day.
Yeah.
So one day I'll be renting them out.
So do you see how God would just give you a free studio? And why? Because I'm trying to spread
do the
what
next
God
right
would
thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to spread what God would have me do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you asked me about money.
Yeah.
I find when you develop relationships, you don't need money.
Yeah.
I don't think Elon Musk is paying a ride it's paying for anything at Amazon. And I don't think Jeff Bezos is paying Elon Musk to ride.
It's funny
in a
you say
spaceship.
that because this is $175 an hour to rent, and you get 3. You can have as many as you want, but whatever you do, it's that God's providing the money.
Yeah, and so right, it comes out of relationship. So that's all business is. Business is relationships.
It is that.
You run a business.
It is.
It's
It is
relationships. It's handshakes, trust, relationships.
But it took an absolute grind for you to get where you are today.
Oh, yeah.
And I know,
Yeah,
I know in your eyes you haven't arrived or anything, but you've certainly come a long way. And that's why I think you fit. We call them grinders.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you're a grinder and part of all about the grind.
I love that. You know why? Because I don't believe in a purpose.
No.
I believe in purposes.
Yes, I agree.
We're here for everything we're doing.
Yeah, I got
not
lost
just
in one
thing.
purpose. Mine was Would You Distributors, all the corporate. We were 55 stores and blowing it up. And now I have so many multiple streams of income plus multiple, people and businesses and spiritual related, social, I need it. I need variety, and variety is the spice of life. All these little sayings. So thank you so much for the
thank you.
first episode 9 with Taj Herbert.
Thank you.
He will be back. I know. Marianne.
like
There's so many. We've been blessed with our first 9
Yeah, it's
visitors.
been fun.
Let me tell you. I mean, there's some. This is why I didn't want you to know who was coming.
Yeah, that's
Because I wanted you to be
That was
wowed by it.
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know
I
half of what
appreciate
he
it.
came up with.
Thanks.
But listen, folks, like, share, comment. It matters to us. We're just small. We got, I think, 36 now? We got
believe
You're going
36.
for 32, right?
We had 32 was
going
my
for
first
32.
goal. I'm
Yeah.
at 36. So we'd love to have 37, 38, 39. Tell your friends, family, you guys matter to us. Until next time, next Monday, this will be uploaded on Tuesday. Taj Herbert, Brett Blankenship, David Opek, we're out. Let's go.
Yeah, I learned to stay strong.
That's cool, man.
Concrete
Thank
in
you.
the dirt I was raised on. Know how to put
appreciate
in
it.
work. Grinding all day, you know it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't gotta look no ass.
If when we're ready to